enter madman, stage left. The audience rises and holds their breath. They let the vampires into their house, pretend they don't see when the teeth come out. Put a band-aid on their throat. No one wants to rock the boat, and no one wants to talk about it. You're not supposed to talk about it. The curtain rises and the players come out. Webs of light spinning from their mouths. Stop looking, listen for a little while. Attention to the men behind the curtain. Just look away when you see the blood spurting down to a steady drip. I promise to leave you a little bit. I'll be back for another drink tomorrow. I love the taste of your terror and your sorrow bathing in your blood. It's never enough. But no one wants to talk about it. It's safer not to talk about it. I cut my strings, no more bowing to the master. I tried to run, but they only came faster. Now I stand my ground. I ain't backing down. Silver bullets in my pistol in my holster. My will is strengthened and my confidence is bolstered. Don't test my resolve. Don't test my resolve.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Iron Mountain Hour. It is Sunday, June. I keep wanting to say January. June the 25th, 2023. Yes, that's right. January. And as my son would say, it's almost halfway to Christmas, so he calls that Leon, or maybe it is Leon. It's halfway to Christmas, and I guess solstice a few days after the solstice. Yeah, so it would be today. Would be halfway to Christmas. So that's his cryptic way of saying that we're halfway there. But anyway, yeah, and yesterday was my mom's birthday. So happy birthday to my mom yesterday, if she was watching. If she's watching, sometimes she watches. She did come by the house and we hung out and stuff and had a good night. But happy birthday to her if she's watching. So we got the chat is jumping. Dalton is pow chicka wow wowing up in the chat, and he's saying let's get the show on the road. He was right at 10 o'clock. He said let's go, man. And then we got Alvin in the chat already. Just got done watching The Big Lebowski. Thank goodness the dude abides. That's right. And have a Stephen Lee day to get to have y'all in the chat. They made it. One tired puppy though. I bet that's Steph. Lee, you don't really seem like much of a puppy. So, you know, Steph kind of seems more of the puppy than Lee. I've met these guys. So.
Is this Ferdum?
No.
That's a fair question.
It is a fair question. No, if you checked out these guys' YouTube channel, have a Steph and Lee day out there. I've linked their channel. Check them out. They got a channel where they come down and they're exploring the local area here in Northeast Tennessee. They're from Pennsylvania, and we're glad to have them with us. And they got a good YouTube channel, so definitely go check them out. And that's if you see them in the chat there, have a Steph capital N Lee day. Have a Steph and Lee day. All right, we got both of you. Great. Glad to hear it. What have you guys been into today? Because I'm sure it was something exciting on a Sunday. I actually worked today. Anybody else work today?
I work every Sunday, sadly.
Yeah, I normally don't work Sundays, but you know, in my business, a lot of what we do depends on the outside. So when it's raining, there's not much we can do, and we got all our inside services done during the days that rain, and we planned on doing all the outside stuff on Saturday, and then the forecast suddenly called for 90% chance of rain on Saturday. So we were like, well, let's go ahead and put everything on Sunday. And then Saturday was nice. Mm-hmm. And then,
except for wasn't there like one random shower?
There was a couple in the early morning. Yeah, I was up doing stuff about 8 and between 8 and 12, there were 2 quick showers, but that was just, you know, as I was going through Elizabeth, and it went away. What's up, Joe? He says, let's go. Have a Stephanie Day both tonight. Joe says, Bella said, Cleef, love you. Yeah, that's his daughter. We have some people that we work with that say my name really long and drawn out. They say Khalifa. And so that's how his daughter likes to say my name. But Dalton says he worked all weekend. He's going to Harper's Ferry in Berkeley Springs tomorrow. Oh, that's cool, Dalton. That sounds cool. You'll have to let us know how that goes, man. Email us some photos to the channel whenever you get done. We'll talk about them on the show. Spill the Tea's in the chat. What's up, Spill? Good to have you here.
Have you ever met a real dungeon master?
I have not.
Okay. So I was out walking the dogs today, and a dungeon master.
A lot of hats.
He had a lot of hats on.
Okay.
He had like 12 piled up. Top one had number 3 on it.
Oh man.
And he just popped out of the bushes, and I was like, "Whoa, dude, what's up?" And he said, "Did you know that macaroni was a style?" I'm just playing. I saw Yeti. I'm pretty sure Yeti posted this today online. The big guy we talked about peppers with.
Yep.
Somebody posted a question online that we were mutual friends with, questioning Yankee Doodle why he called the feather macaroni. Was he calling the feather macaroni, or was it the hat that he was calling the macaroni?
Was it the horse?
Was it the horse?
What was called macaroni?
Pretty decent post, and then Yeti popped in with a rabbit hole linked up there. It turns out, according to the Yeti post, that macaroni was an upscale style back in the day, and that the Yankee Doodle song was actually making fun of Americans who would travel to the New World, stick a feather in their hat, and then pretend that that was the style known as macaroni, when macaroni was the style of a well-traveled individual who had seen a lot of cultures. So it's actually a song making fun of new Americans. And I thought that was funny.
Yeah, I never heard of that.
So I'm going to walk around being like, I'm looking rather macaroni today.
Have a Stephanie Day, had church and weed eating, decorating, remodeled the bedroom. Yeah, I had, as soon as I got off of work, I got home and me and my wife had a grilled cheese sandwich and, you know, had a kiss or two, and then went right out to mowing and weed eating, and with all the rain, hadn't been able to do that. So, yeah, but I did get a sweet new mower, so it takes a lot less time. My son had broke my mower. He had run over a concrete block with the blades on, and it basically, you know, it destroyed the deck. It's made of sheet metal and has a screw through it, and where the screw is threaded through it, just ripped that part out. And I took a hammer and a 2x4 and a mini sledge, and I just pounded the 2x4 onto the bolt to see if I could straighten it out. It wouldn't budge. So I was like, okay, this thing's done. And I looked for a mower deck for my mower for like a couple of months, and they were all like $200. And I said, man, that's an old mower. I'm gonna set it out, kick it out to the street, and that's what I did. I figured somebody'd come get it. You know, since the motor's good, but nobody's stopped by yet. But usually, if I leave something like that out there, somebody will come by and get it. If not, I'll call the junk man that hauls it off for the metal. But
yeah, don't let anybody know that wants the metal. You might lose like your O2 converter under your car or something in the process of getting rid of it. You'll just hear like a power tool.
Yeah.
Where's he at? Where's he at? Oh no, the catalytic gremlin's here.
I know a guy that does metal, so he's pretty good about it. If you give him enough metal, he's happy to come out, and so I'll call him and he'll come and haul it off. And I've got some bicycles and stuff I need to give him too. Because me and my kids kill bicycles. We're hard on them.
Well, if you ride them, you know, we used to break spokes and everything just because we jump on them.
Yeah.
So I think if you're riding a bicycle, unless you get like an $800 one or something like that, then I'll be a bit like, that's usually like cross country though.
Yeah. Well, we'd always buy. My neighbor, he works in he has like an antique store, and
You know, you like
part of that-
BMXy ones?
he
or
deals
you
in
stick to normal
bicycles.
ones?
Oh, we did all mountain bike style. My daughter's BMX style is the only one that's actually lasted. All the mountain bike style ones have caved in without a whole lot of
Heck, the
wear and tear. I mean,
BMX
we've
bike.
rode them a lot.
They're built for it, yeah.
The BMX bike that I had for years, it was like a high-end one, and I actually sold it for like still a good chunk because it was like a sought after model and it was in pristine shape still.
They're basically just big, little thick frames. But yeah, they're all frame.
It was heavy.
I had my first bike was a BMX bike. Then I got when I was 20-inch, regular BMX style bike. But that thing, I got a newer one, when I was a little bit older. But that thing had got so much abuse because we would, try to build the biggest ramp that we could, and it just took it and kept on ticking. And it was just, I think it was a Kent maybe. It was just a plain 20-inch BMX bike, and
Mine was a Haro Shredder.
that was a fancy one.
Yep.
Joe says Macaroni was making fun of the English hair, the hair of the English wigs. Yeah, I can see that too. Alvin says, hey Spill, looks like we got a crowd tonight. Yeah, it's good to have y'all with us. I hope y'all had a good week. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you got to check out our episode last weekend. Most of our regular viewers probably did. Our episode on meme magic and military grade memes, and also we talked about Mary Patton here, and she's got a highway now up here in Elizabethton. But go check that out if you missed it. It was a good hour and a half of fun conversation. And we also, Tim and I got together on Wednesday night and we talked about news and current events. And honest to God, Tim, I don't even remember what we talked about. Do you? No, I don't either. So, yeah, I can't really recommend that one because it might not be any good. But, you do these things a lot and sometimes you kind of forget. Yeah, it probably is.
Much fun we could.
It's only got 23 views on it. So
I look like I'm having a good time in my.
let's see what we got here. Let's check it out. Oh, we talked about the summer solstice. That's right. Yeah. And then we talked about a couple of news and current events. So it was fun. Me and Tim had a good time anyway. I hope y'all did too. We got the Rumble in the description. And check this out. We've got the Skype up if anybody wants to chime in via Skype. I have not tried it without headphones. I think it needs headphones, right? But what the hell?
Talk to Cliff.
What the hell? We might as well try it. No, we're not going to use headphones. If we have too bad of an echo, we will just say, sorry, we tried, and we'll figure out a way for us all to have headphones.
Me and Goff will gather around one little earbud, and that'll be how we do it.
Well, I just need to get us a headphone amplifier set up for this, and then we can run it out from the mixing board and the headphone amplifier, and then run 3 headphones out, and we can all have headphones.
Pretentious on here wearing big headphones.
Yeah, but we only have to do it when we're doing Skype calls, so we can be our normal, non-pretentious selves the rest of the time. Spill made chili.
Pretentious Mountain Hour. And
Man,
really
it's the pretentious Mountain Hour.
Goff could come in sporting some very specific metal fashion.
We could start a new trend, douchecore.
That probably exists if we're being,
Oh, yeah, you're probably right.
fair, but we could try to redo douchecore.
There's got to be something already.
It's probably some like weird subgenre that there's 2 bands in the world of like out of a grindcore subgenre
that are doing it unironically.
Yeah, that's what I wonder about. If it's I mean, you'd have to call something like that unironically. Spill said she made chili. We had chili like last week. I don't know if y'all had a cool day last week. We where I had a day where it was like, I don't know if it was really cool, but it didn't get to 70. And so we had some chili the other day. That was pretty good.
You can have chili year round. Don't let the man.
I don't like stuff like, I like hot dog chili around. I don't like I like a good old bean chili, and I don't like that in the summertime.
If you're talking about like no,
a good hearty bean chili
on that. There's
soup
certain it's almost like if you be eating like big handfuls of like fresh watermelon in December. And it's like I'll eat it, but it is kind of weird. It's out of place.
That's I'm like, I guess I'm weird because I do. But
Dalton says chili tastes better than rain. Yeah, cool rainy day. That's when I like chili. Yeah,
I like hot
don't know what it
chocolate all
is.
the time too, but it's not going to hit the spot in August.
Maybe it's some kind of MK Ultra programming though. Maybe we've just been trained by Madison Avenue and they're wizards.
maybe I'm
Picky little
I'm
boy.
the right one.
Yeah, because pizza in the morning, pizza in the evening, pizza at supper time.
There was a stretch on that one though.
But do you remember when it's pizza's on a bagel? You can eat
Your
pizza
chemical
anytime.
tongue burns in the morning.
You're right though. It basically is all marketing because
Yeah.
even like the diamond ring was a marketing tactic. If you look at that, breakfast in general,
Bacon
was
and
marketing.
eggs.
So I mean, yeah. But I do have those memories hardwired in there, and hot beverages just don't go. I don't like to see how like the English drink. Well, I guess their tea might be cold.
Well, I'm kind of the same way, dude. I don't know
Earl
if
Grey
it's marketing or what, but Earl Grey's hot. Yeah.
Is it? So
Yeah.
how are they drinking Earl Grey? Is it always cold in London?
Earl Grey's
That's
good
the
though.
secret. Is it just always 50
Well, I mean, it's like
degrees?
coffee. I don't ever want cold coffee. I mean, even in the summertime, I want hot coffee first thing in the morning. And I can see having a hot tea at noon or whatever it is they do over there.
I drink cold
I'm an
coffee.
uncultured swine, so I enjoy a cold coffee every now and then, but I like my coffee just straight black and like a really dark roast. So I just enjoy it better hot. And but every now and then, with some kind of cream and sugar or something
I
like
actually
that. So
prefer yerba mate. That's actually my favorite. It's just really,
That stuff's good.
it's
too.
just nobody makes it good around here, and it's expensive. If you
I don't
get
think
it.
I've ever had one.
Can't say I've ever had like a
It's just caffeine.
good made one. I've always had like
Asheville.
pre-made.
There's a place over in Asheville. There's a little tea room that made a really good one. But I'm not big on pretentious drinks, even though that does sound very pretentious for me to drink yerba mate, but not coffee and tea. But like it's
I just like yerba mate, bro.
no, it's just a flavor. Like there's a lot.
Oh, yeah.
I've never been into sweet tea, despite being from the South and everybody around here loving it. I just never have been able to get into it.
I like unsweet tea.
So, I like yerba. It has a very nice flavor, and the caffeine buzz is quite different off of it than normal caffeine buzz.
Man, I
not
sent myself
jittery.
an email.
Makes you feel like your eyes are blinking. 'Cause-
I'm gonna have to resend myself this email for the show because it's not showing back up. There we go. Let's see. All right, everybody. Also, be sure and check out our banner behind us, made by our buddy Wilbur over at Toxic Teas. So you can go and find him on Facebook at Toxic Teas. He's also at East Tennessee Design. He's got his Vodka Moon product out there right now. It's a fruit juicy vodka thing. It's ready to drink, like 30 proof, something like that. And he made our banner for us right here. But he's also working out over at East Tennessee Design, so I want to give a shout out to him. He got over there at the distillery. If y'all have seen Donnie Baker on Facebook, the comedian, they've got a product out with him right now, and some kind of deal going with him. I don't know if he's made a moonshine with him or they're just selling one, with him. Somehow or another, they got a Donnie Baker moonshine that they're making over there, and Wilbur's got his vodka moon going right now, and he's also
That stuff was pretty stout whenever we had it.
yeah.
It was smooth, but it creeped on you.
It tasted just like a Hawaiian punch or something. I forget what it was, dragon fruit.
He had a pomegranate and a blood orange.
Yeah, and they were both really good, and they were.
I like pomegranate better, so I'm going to gravitate towards that.
Yeah.
But they were both good.
What it was like? It was mostly juice with the vodka, wasn't it, or something
Well,
like that?
actually, it's at the 50-50 moonshine vodka blend.
Yeah.
It was a little not as high of a proof, but
Yeah.
it was how it was made. It was done well.
Yeah. I usually don't like stuff like that, but I can remember a few things like that I have liked over the years. And one of them was making Country Time lemonade with Bacardi 151, and you didn't want to drink much of it, but you could make a double shot of it and sip on it over time, and it wasn't really strong. It just tasted like lemonade. Now, if you were not careful and got to drinking on it, it didn't taste like lemonade at all very quickly, and you get really wasted if you didn't know what you were doing. But we used to drink that from time to time as a kind of jungle juice, and we'd make mix a punch and then pour some of that in it, or you could just drink it straight. But I always liked that pretty good. but it kind of reminded me of that, kind of a party, something you drink out of an igloo cooler that's, one of the sports coolers that stands up and has the valve at the bottom of it. And, you go to a party when you were in high school and there was, all kinds of fruits in there, and they poured Everclear in there, and there was like a whole bunch of different fruit juices, and you just got you a styrofoam or a plastic cup and poured it out of there, and 2 drinks, and you were hammered and passed out on your buddy's apartment, back, at least that's the way it was when I was a youngin'.
Or as Drew enjoyed the potion.
My buddy Drew, who was last seen doing the crypto thing, came over to I used to have degenerate festivals called Tim Fests, and yeah. Only one I really remember was getting drunk and then reading people's fortunes in the sink.
And crawling across the floor.
Yeah, that's another time. Drew made a drink one night, multiple times. It wasn't just one drink. He called it potion, but the whole point of it was for you and your buddies to be annihilated on under $20, like around 6 fellas. And so it's specifically the cheapest everything you can get. So you get Mountain Holler or whatever it is, Mountain Lightning from Walmart, and then you get the blue raspberry Kool-Aid, a couple other things, and then Taka was the kind of vodka that they'd use. It was like the very bottom. It's got that plastic to the liquid, and it just, the plastic feels so cheap on the jug, you're wondering how the alcohol itself isn't making it dissolve. Yeah, and so you mix all that together, and it kind of tastes like candy and heartburn.
I remember one of the Tim Fest, you were like, this vodka is fucking horrible. So you poured it through your Brita water filter and made it taste better.
Did it work?
Yeah, it worked.
Okay.
That's funny. I didn't know you had a Tim Fest. I had a beef stock back. I was playing with a band.
Oh, these were not musical.
Oh, Ro, is that right? Okay. Well, this was musical, but only in that there were bands playing there. It was just a large party, and it was back in 2009, and some friends of mine and I that were playing in the band that I was with. I can't remember what band it was. Was Hating Hollywood, or I think that's what it was. Hating Hollywood or South of Sanity or something like that. But anyway, we were had a show that got canceled, and the owner had double booked us, and he let us know like the afternoon on a Saturday. And so we got together, or put our heads together, and we were like, well, we really wanted to play. We already had, my buddy had a hearse that we loaded the equipment up into. We already had everything loaded up. We were ready to play, and we're like, well, fuck it, let's go and throw our own festival. So that's what we did. We made a flyer, like had it printed off. We did all this within like 6 hours, and went up to my buddy's house, and we called my buddy, and he's like, oh yeah, we got this house on my property that we've got framed and we got a roof on it, but there's no walls or anything, but there is electricity and plumbing, and there's a bathroom. And so we're like, oh hell yeah. And he's
like a metal video.
Yeah. So he's like, yeah, it's like, yeah, man, y'all come up here and play. So we he had a gate on the property and a bridge that you had to go across to get to it. And anyway, we were up there, and we went to all the gas stations in Stony Creek and handed out these flyers, and gave them to the clerks and talked to people, and we're like, hey, we're having this party, and it was called Beef Stock 09. It had a big cartoon picture of a cow, and I went by the name Corned Beef Brisket. That was always my stage name when I was playing music. And anyway, we just threw this together real quick, and the house that we were in was totally full the whole night. The people rotated through. I have no idea how many people showed up, but we went and grabbed a couple of kegs, and people drank 2 kegs and brought all kinds of liquor, and there was a ton of people there. We had, at the beginning of that, we had a couple of girls down at the bottom of the driveway checking IDs, and eventually they were like, fuck this, we're missing out on the fun, like, let's go up here. So then people just kept pouring in, and on the flyer we thought we were being slick, but apparently it was still against the law to do this. But being 14 years ago, I can admit it. But we thought we were not breaking the law, but we had on the flyer, it was like $5 to get into the show, all the beer you can drink with an unlimited ID free with your admittance to the show. But apparently you have to have like a license as a private club to be able to do that. But whatever,
The loophole would be just not to advertise.
$5
for.
Well, that's how we figured we'd get people to come. Is we had all
You can
this.
sell $5 cups, and then it's not specified it's alcohol.
Yeah.
Plenty of pet.
Yeah.
And stuff.
Yeah,
but,
that's
you know.
true.
$5 for the cup, and whatever you fill it with is free.
Yeah. Well, we didn't think that far ahead, but we wanted people to know that they could get free beer if they came and paid $5 to get into our show. And actually, it worked out because the girls actually they took enough money to get all our money back, like almost to the dollar that we invested on this thing after the flyers and the 2 kegs of beers and the tap and everything with the gas, and we calculated it up, and when they stopped taking money, it was like almost to the dollar exactly what we spent putting the show on. But Mike Jones came up and played, and we had a jam. Mike Jones played a solo show, and then we had a
You know
jam.
about that Newman's, don't you?
Oh yeah, I've heard a lot. My brother Jones to the Bone watches the show sometimes. I hope he's out there with us. Yeah, we've got a lot of stories, but we won't get into too many of those. But at any rate, Jones went up and he played a few songs and then got together with us. And we had a real fun jam, and he sung a song called Beef Stock 09 that he made up on the spot, and it was really hilarious. And we had a full house full of people pretty much the whole night while we played until about probably 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. Oh, and it was a heck of a festival, fighting, music, all the stuff that makes a Carter County Holler night what it is.
Yeah, well, Tim Fests were similar to that, but take out all those cool, meaningful moments and just replace it with lots of county kids who were introduced to alcohol too late in life, so they didn't know how to handle it. That's basically all it was. It was like I didn't get to go to a lot of or any gut busting parties even when I was in high school and stuff because I was such a church kid, and so all of a sudden it's like I can legally just go to the liquor store and just buy anything I want. And I'm just like, all right, let's get all my friends trashed. And that was what my goal every single time. If you came, you didn't have to bring anything because that's stupid. It's like never giving a kid candy and then just letting them free to go roam the chocolate aisle. I mean, they're going to have diabetes by within an hour.
Well, it's almost a cliche, but if you look at, European countries where kids are starting having wine with dinner or beer with dinner at, around the time they're 10, 12, but just a little bit, they grow up without, it being this forbidden fruit that's how you rebel is you go out and drink alcohol. That's how you show you're, a cool teenager. It's, ooh, we sneak and drunk alcohol underage. That's, of course, the trap that I fell for, and I'm sure plenty of people that, fell for. But, I'm sure plenty of y'all fell for it, too, out there. Spill says she likes half sweet and half unsweetened with a splash of lemon or lemonade. Yes, now I like that, too. I mostly drink unsweet, but sometimes I'll get a half and half and half, and it's pretty good. Especially I like pals if you can get them to do half peach and half unsweet. Sometimes they'll be like, oh, I can't do that, but most of the time they'll do it for you.
It's like, yeah, you can just get in the loop, and then that's all you gotta do.
Yeah, if they say they can't, I've had them do it just a couple times, but I don't argue with them. I just say, oh, okay, well, just give me unsweet then. But
Be a lot cooler if you did.
hey, that's a Pillbilly song. I don't know if we have that one recorded or not.
We don't.
Yeah, that was a cool song. Yeah, it would be a whole lot cooler if you did. Yeah, I'm sure there's a video of it some out there, but I know we don't have a studio recording of it.
Do we have it? Is there a live video to that?
I'm sure somebody got one of us, but I don't know.
I know there's that live video for that certain place to be.
Yeah, that's true. Well, let's get into the topic at hand, and our good friend Alvin actually wrote most of the show for us tonight. So we've been talking about this since the beginning of the show. I think episode 5 or 6 we got into Chattanooga, if you'll recall. But a lot of you haven't been with us that long, so I got to thinking about it, and maybe it's been a while. Alvin's been with us a while, and I don't think we've talked about Chattanooga since he joined us. He tells us about some folks who have sold out to the moneyed interest of the WEF and the international financiers to make Chattanooga a Power in the 15-Minute City program. And we're going to go to a story from Uncover DC here. This is Uncover DC to giving credit to Nooga Voices. Exposes Chattanooga's WEF climate action plan. So, we've like I said, we got on this story really early on, we were late to it, honestly, but compared to other folks in who are making the kind of programs that we are. But before we get into that, I had one that I wanted to show you, and now the one that I sent myself earlier and the one I just sent myself a few minutes ago have showed up. But this is from chathammatters.com, and this is their "What does living in a smart city actually mean for residents?" And as we talked about, the impetus for us starting this show, the reason that I called Tim, and Tim and I had gotten together and made a recording. Dustin got together, and we made a recording for a song that I'd written years ago called "The Men Behind the Curtain" that we use for our intro here. And when I found out at Smart Poll, I called Tim and I was like, "Hey, are you interested in doing a kind of like conspiracy show with like local stuff? Because I just heard about this thing." And it was about smart poles going in Johnson City. And you can go all the way back to our first episode, and we've talked about it several times throughout the show. We've kind of been, doing updates on it, several times a year as we go on about what's going on with the situation. It's only
every day at noon we go to one of them and flip off the camera.
But the situation's only gotten worse, I'm sorry to report. So far, I am failing at my mission to spread the word
Middle
of.
fingers are getting tired.
I feel like I'm doing more work locally talking to people than I actually am with the YouTube channel. I hope there's some local folks out there who just don't comment and chat and stuff who actually watch, though. I feel pretty sure that there's a few. But, as I talk to folks out there, a lot of people just don't know about this stuff. And when they find out about it, they're like, holy shit, that's why are people not talking about this? And I don't know, maybe they don't believe me, maybe they're just patronizing me and, want me to shut up and leave them alone. But I feel like I'm genuinely connecting with some people sometimes when we start talking about these things, especially when they're the ones who bring up the topics. Like, I met some local business owners who were telling me about the Fed Now system that's starting in July with the Federal Reserve. And, they didn't like the idea of being all their purchases and expenses and everything they do being tracked and traced and databased and being audited on a micro level on every transaction that they do, and having everything that they do go through the Fed system. And they, even as on top of that as they had no idea about the smart poles. They had no idea about the traffic cameras or the license plate reading cameras in Elizabeth. And here we go. We got I got to get this from Dalton real quick. He says, first time I drank was my 21st birthday, and I drank most of a 750 milliliter bottle of coconut rum and puked the bed and said I'm never drinking again, and here I am, keep drinking Keystone Light. That's how it works out sometimes. We all have to have that first experience where we really overdo it. I had a couple times, it's been a really long time since I've vomited.
You have anything that you've completely destroyed yourself on? Because I can never do Evan Williams White Label ever again.
It was a long time before I could do vodka, cheap vodka anyway. When I was in high school, I had vodka and rum, like I think it was probably Barton's or something like that. It was in a big old half gallon, and it destroyed me. We mixed it with orange juice, and next thing you know, after a couple of glasses, it didn't taste half bad, and then gluk, 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 gluk. And I got super sick.
I can say I don't have any aversions to any of it. I've only thrown up once due to alcohol, but that
wasn't my fault.
No, it was not.
It was a good chance though.
No, I actually never got enough at any of the Tim Fest.
All right, see, Golf was one of those people that come drink modestly and laugh at the rest of us morons that were telling people's fortunes and thinking.
Yeah.
Playing piano downstairs.
Stephen Lee Day says, no more Mad Dog for me. I can understand that. I've had a taste of Mad Dog, and I was like, nope, if I drink this, it's going to make me feel bad. Mm-hmm. So I'm just not going to have any more.
That's the taste. Evan Williams, the White Label, I still remember what it tasted like going down and coming up. It tasted about the same, and that's why I was like, I can never drink that ever again.
Alvin says, 2 fingers gold tequila by the shot. Now, that's what you can't do, Alvin, because, I know my aunt used to drink 2 fingers, and she and her wife or girlfriend.
I like that label, that name.
Well, it was funny because it was my aunt, and she was a lesbian, and she and her girlfriend would always drink 2 fingers. And it was funny. I never even knew she was a lesbian until I was like a teenager. I'd been around her and her wife or girlfriend for like years, and I was like, oh, that's just my aunt's friend. and a friend of my mom's. So I said, "Oh, my aunt's coming over to be," and she's like, "Oh, you mean that lesbian?" I was like, "Oh, yeah, I guess so. Yeah, I guess so." Yeah, this was in the '90s, and I had never really thought about it, but oh yeah, well, I guess so. But anyway, yeah, they always drink the Two Fingers tequila, and
I don't think I've ever had it.
I've never had it myself, but it does not, inspire a lot of confidence. Alvin says, "I like women too. Does that make me a lesbian?" Well, if you have two X chromosomes, then yes. But I guess if you have two if you have a XY, like I imagine that you do. Not that I've thought much about it, Alvin, but no, I would say that you are not. But I guess if you identify hard enough as a woman, then yes. Or if you identify hard enough a lesbian, then he's a lesbian, right? Busted, he said. That's the rules. We don't make them, but you could certainly exploit them if you were so inclined. Yeah, we started the show talking about the smart poles, and yeah, exactly, Alvin, you got it. We started talking about the smart poles and how the TVA had provided funding to the city of Johnson City for these smart poles in exchange for the data that the smart poles collected. We also talked about how the history of the TVA and how it's actually a corporation, a private corporation, not a part of the government, but it is owned by the federal government. The federal government owns all shares of the TVA, and the TVA is in charge of a lot of things that you wouldn't think they would be, but primarily the dam system and the surrounding area. And but anyway, they've decided that they would like to have the data from the city of Johnson City. So they have provided it was started with a couple $100,000 in funding. I don't remember the exact number, but they were saying, "Oh, we're going to be able to get 2 smart poles," and then next thing you know, there's like 8 in downtown, and then there's like 16 over in the park over in there, and all these things there's sensors on them. There's they didn't say that there were cameras, but most smart poles do have cameras, and they said they're going to be used to prevent crime. So you have to imagine they're going to have cameras on it. But we go on as we fast forward. That went on through, and it was kind of like, but all these things, they come onto the agendas in these meetings, and I never saw anything in the news about any of these things until after it had already passed. So it wasn't like, oh, well, the city council discussed, we're going to put in, I'm going to say, I didn't see that. It could have happened and I missed it. And when I searched for it, I cannot find a news article that says, well, the city council is meeting to discuss whether or not to put in smart poles or whether or not to put in city council or to put in license plate reading software cameras.
Do you ever figure out where those are here in Elizabeth?
I don't think they're installed yet, but they probably will be when they finish hanging these. If you're noticing, you're going, yeah, I bet that's when they'll put them up. But they basically said when we went into the what was the name of the group that did them? Do you remember? It started with an F. Anyway, the group that runs these red light camera, these license plate reading camera, it actually is connected across 42 states and 2,000 cities. And so when we hear things about smart cities, what does that mean to us? What does a smart home mean? I watched a movie just not before or last night, and it was from probably the early 70s. Damn, I can't remember the name of it now. But it was a movie about a guy who had invented an AI basically, and it functioned somehow on a quantum level. And the guy basically invented Google, but it was in the 1970s. And you had to go and sit in a chair, and you had to get time. And they imagined that having this artificial intelligence program, or what they imagined artificial intelligence would be something like a telescope or observatory, where you would have to reserve time with it to go, ask it questions and get answers from it. And they also had a smart home in this, and it was in the news that the guy had a smart home, and it was basically the smart home of today, like dim the lights, what's in the fridge, all the different things that you have now, smart robots and vacuums and all these things. And one thing that they all have in common is that they're all recording data about the way you live. From your robot that vacuums your floors, it's mapping out your house and storing that data. And where's it storing? It's not storing it on board in the robot. It's sending it to a server that Amazon or whoever owns the robot has. And they are, when you sign an agreement, or digitally sign an agreement to use those products, you basically sign away their rights to do what they want with your anonymous user data. But is it really that anonymous if you can collect a whole group of several different kinds of user data, and you can basically transpose it upon one another, and you can figure out who this is if you purchase all this data from these people. So anyway, they sell your anonymized data. You've got your fridge. If you've got a smart fridge, it tells it's keeping up with your eating and drinking habits. You've got your club card at your supermarket. These are all points of data where your data is being collected. Everything you do, and a picture of who you are and what your life is like is being formed for a multitude of reasons, but primarily to form a model to know how any and every one of us will react in an event, so that they can plan these things out when this is my opinion. I don't have any full evidence to prove this or anything like this, but it's my opinion that the powers that be, as it were, there are conspiracies, and there are people behind the scenes who we don't see, who orchestrate certain events. And I think that one of the things that they want to do, as people in the CIA and DARPA have publicly been trying to do, is to form a virtual voodoo doll of you, or a virtual cliff, so that they know all my habits, and they can form a model of a virtual one of each and every one of us, to know what we'll do in the event of an economic collapse, a nuclear emergency, a pandemic. And this allows for when we go to the back to the Iron Mountain report, if you recall, that was one of the things that they were trying to do all the way back then in the 60s, the report from Iron Mountain. They were trying to form a simulation, and they said they already had at that time, that would work on mass movements and see how people would react to certain things. And this is how people steer the course of the future. People with enough money and influence, they work together to do this, and they call it conspiracy, and we shake our heads at it and thumb our nose at it. But it's really, the history of conspiracy is the history of the world, from Julius Caesar to John F. Kennedy to Donald Trump being it's Donald Trump's presidency. It's all. I mean, there's so many conspiracies that have been proven to be conspiracies over the years, and that's really what shaped the course of history. So the idea that because something is called a conspiracy theory automatically removes all credibility from it, which was actually a CIA op that has been admitted since then. That we can't talk about these things. That's the whole idea behind calling it conspiracy theories, is so we can't say, hey, look, they're the local guys selling us out to this, global takeover, basically, by the private equity firms and whoever runs those, the Vanguards that we've talked about, the BlackRocks that we've talked about. They're all putting money into this stuff. You've got, of course, the ever-present villain Soros. You've got the World Economic Forum. They're all pushing towards these things where we have these smart cities that collect all of our data, limit our ability to travel, limit our ability to purchase, limit our ability to associate with people, also they can manage it and keep society safe, and not producing too much carbon, and not getting in their way, basically, when you get right down to it. Because they're still going to be flying around in jets or whatever they invent that's better than jets, and doing whatever they want.
Jets with laser beams attached to their head.
Absolutely. And you got to watch out for those, and they may have moats. Me and B were talking about buying a piece of property, and she suggested that we have a moat with carps. And I said, attack carps with laser beams. And if you had a moat with carps, Is this is 2023? You gotta have some laser beams over there. Or at
Or you
least
could do it like legit old moats and they're just full of shit. And that's why no one wanted to cross it, because they're like, I ain't crossing that.
let's see, Dalton. Oh, wait a minute. Oh, wait, we missed a bunch here. So, Spill says connected to the internet like Alexa. Yeah, that's everything we do. All our phones, everything we do. Hello, Alexa, I'm home, says Alvin. Smart everything.
Hello, wiretap.
Yeah. It's been a long time. Spill says my middle son has one oldest calls it Allegra and it answers. He tells it all kinds of crazy stuff because we don't have or want one. Dalton says my grandma has an Alexa and one time it started randomly making fart sounds. She couldn't get it to stop. There was some case of a man where it was like they were recording people having sex, and they accidentally, the Alexa played the sounds back to him, and the people recorded it, and it was their Alexa was playing them having sex back to them, and they said, holy shit, that thing recorded us, so they got their phone out and recorded it and showed, and I don't remember if they sued or what, but it was something that Amazon had to take some kind of action to correct. Spill says, and if your social score sucks like mine, it'll lock you out. And Spill says, yeah, we can't fart, but they jet to lunch. Yeah, absolutely. And even like when they have those climate summits and stuff like that, they all take the jets. And Al Gore's like, we need a jet because that's how we get to these places. And if we have to drive, we'll have to mingle with the public, and they hate us. And then it's kind of just like the evangelist who's like, that they were making fun of in South Park. It was like, we need a jet, but the thing is, we need a better jet than the other people's jet. So we need you to donate this money. And they asked him about it, and he's pretty much like, yeah, I don't like to mingle with the demonic people, and so that's why I need a private jet. So that's pretty much, the left gives that guy hell, but they won't give people like Al Gore or, all these other, climate people hell because they don't really believe in it. I think they just pretend to believe in it. Do you think? I think maybe regular liberals probably believe in all the climate stuff to a degree because they probably don't know to the extent of what these people are saying that they want to do or that what the climate is doing. And then I think some of them they know it's not exactly like that, but they don't care because it gives them something to be on the winning team about. But that's kind of the gist of the Smart City program: is control people, control their expenses, control their travel, control the amount of carbon that they produce, the amount of resources that they consume, and so that society can be managed. It's just another version of this same old stuff that we hear.
Or it could be like, Spill might be able to say that, in California where those, they actually can't let you change your thermostat to certain degrees.
Yeah.
It blocks you out of everything but this window. Yeah.
Well, that was there was places in California that did that. Famously, there was a place in Colorado. Remember that it wouldn't let them turn the thermostat down because they had signed up for an agreement with their power company where they would let them manage it. But they've put that in kind of without us knowing it, even here in Elizabeth, and I didn't even know they did it. They put a smart meter on my house. I had no idea till I actually saw the news that they had done it. And that's what I was saying earlier.
So I came home and I was like, what's all this like big pile of cause it's where mine is, it's like attached to where my carport is.
Yeah.
I pulled in, I got out and was like, what's all this like rat's nest looking stuff all over the ground? Then I saw it on the wall. I'm like,
yeah,
they do this while I was at work.
Yeah, I had no idea. But they're slipping this thing in all around us. But that ends up being part of that whole system because, it allows them, not only for the driver to read the meter from the truck, like they say, but it also allows, to cut off one place or another, not having to be at that location. So at least it should. That as I understand it, that then they can actually cut off without sending somebody into the house. using these smart meters, and that was one, I think one of the whole purposes of it is to be able to regulate eventually. They're not doing it right now, but to eventually be able to regulate your energy via that, even if you don't have, smart appliances or any other smart stuff, smart thermostat and all that. They'll still be able to regulate it that way by controlling how much you use. And that's my theory. But let's see. Spill says we put ours on 60. Sorry, Charlie. It gets 110 here daily. Not now, but next week it'll be 140. Yeah, it's been pretty cool this month, but we have had a couple days where it's been quite hot. It's been really muggy. It felt like the beach in here. Felt like South Carolina beach. Just dreadfully hot and muggy, or Virginia Beach. Man, you ever been to Colonial Williamsburg? It's a freaking nightmare. That in Washington, D.C. in the summer. Oh my gosh. That's one of the most humid, awful places I could have thought to visit in the summer.
Well, is DC ever pleasant?
I don't know, but it was a lot better when I went in the spring than when I went in the summer. But I went in the spring when I was a kid too, so that kind of had something to do with it too. I don't know. Mary and Barry was up in there smoking crack, but I think that was about all they had going on as far as scandals at the time. But yeah, Spill says it's coming. Anytime he's been to DC, Dalton says it's been so hot. Yeah, it's miserable, man. It's a big swamp, and if you go up there in the summer, the humidity is so bad, and then you're right off the East Coast where all that freaking hot air is just, and summertime. Well, I mean, we're pretty far away from tropic cancer and everything, but we still get some pretty straight rays there on the eastern seaboard, and all that moisture from the swamp. It's awful. I can't imagine. I've never been to like Louisiana or Mississippi or anything like that in the summer, but I couldn't imagine that. But yeah, man, they put these. They got these smart cities popping up all over the place. They did about 50 all over the world, and Chattanooga was one of these that got. They did about 50 with the World Economic Forum that got funded. And let's go through what it means living in a smart city for residents. The smart cities use data to improve quality of life. In Chattanooga, the benefits extend beyond the urban core into schools and neighborhoods. So let's look at a few things about smart cities here. I had a couple of noteworthy things that I wanted to show you. Fast facts. EPB's smart grid allows instant communication between any location within the network's 600 square mile footprint. Beyond its use for electricity and internet, the smart grid has opened up substantial opportunities for research in smart city applications. Both the public and private sectors are using the smart grid to improve transportation, healthcare, education, energy, and other aspects of life. Well done. That sounds great, doesn't it? Sounds like all things that you would want a city to do. Right? Sounds like they just want to help. You ever sit at a string of green lights and, all of a sudden you get through and think it's your lucky day? Well, not, yeah.
Have you
very rarely.
Carter County, unless you hit them at like 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, it's pretty rare around here. You used to be able to do that until they started put them on some kind of control. That has to be the answer. That has to be what they've done, because I'll be coming through and there'll be like a string of cars, like 10 cars, and then one car will pull up, and sometimes it'll immediately stop everybody to let that one car through, or sometimes nobody will be there and it'll stop everybody for no reason. It's like, why are you stopping everybody?
Or there'll be nobody in any way, and you pull it's late at night. You go pull up, and then you wait. Yeah. And you wait, and then other times you pull right up, and as soon as you tap your brakes, it's already turned green for you.
But yeah, it's they're saying, well, you notice how that is? Well, that could be because this smart feller who programs all these lights, so they'll get you through it. But they do say in Chattanooga they were able to get a 12% reduction in eastbound morning travel time, so that would be nice. So I don't have a problem necessarily. Do you?
If Americans could actually use things like roundabouts,
that would
make things so much better.
Yeah, so many people I know though are like terrified of the concept of it.
Hell, they're like, I'm not 4-way stop.
Oh, I'm not driving through that. But a roundabout, it's so much easier, and it's if you're I don't understand why it's hard to understand. Even Europeans can understand them. In Holland and
have you seen the roundabouts
Belgium
over there? don't know.
Well,
People could handle them up here.
the great big ones, maybe not, but I think they could. But you'd have to start them with like the one in Johnson City terrifies people though. The one up there in North Johnson City.
At the hospital.
No, not that one. But it's one like that one. It's up in it's behind Walmart. It's on Mountain
There's
View
one
Road.
near that Witch and that Mayweather's boxing and stuff too. Even that's in a parking lot. There's one there.
Yeah, and they're right there at Academy Sports. But there's a big one. There's a big one at Oakland or not Oakland, but West Mountain View and Roan, is it? No, West Mountain View and Knob Creek. Somewhere in there, somewhere in that area behind Walmart. There's a big one up there, and it's a 2-lane, and
I've never
people.
used that one actually.
Well, if you go and it takes you back and you run into Carroll Creek Road, the one I'm talking about, I forget what road it is there. But you run into Carroll Creek Road if you go back into it, and there's a 2-lane traffic circle there. And my wife, we went through it the other day. She's like, what is this? And I was like, oh, it's just driving girl. She's like, I'm never driving through here again. I used to like to drive through here, so I'm not doing it anymore. But that's how a lot of people feel about them.
I was like, I like them because it's like if you know what you're doing, you don't have to really stop.
Yeah.
You just
Slow down till you can pop
I like
in
them
there.
better. I will tell you that
you have to be opportunistic. You have to take your opportunity to get into traffic. I think that's what scares people because they freeze at a 4-way stop. It'll be their turn. You're like, and then they're like,
well, it
The whole
changes
time.
completely too when you just get rid of all the stop signs and red lights in the country and you replace everything with those. Because now it's not just some obscure back road that somebody can skip. Now it's everything.
Everything
you hit.
you have to pay attention on everything.
And it gets pretty weird in some places. You go like where it's just a warring mess of cars. You're like, oh God, I hope they don't rear end me. And you just got to keep going because that's the game. Is I'm not going to hit you. Just get in here, pussy.
Yeah, exactly.
The attitude.
Exactly.
well, basically, it seems like that's most interstate or any highway driving anywhere other than here.
Man, the highway driving here, phew, I'm telling you, man, it's like you're getting onto a highway, the interstate now. Our interstate through Johnson City is actually down to 60. It's like 65 and 70 a lot of the way that it's. I don't know, 26 is mostly 65 all the way over the mountain.
It starts at 65 on the Irwin side, and then as soon as you hit into the Johnson City stretch, it cuts down to 60.
Yeah.
Then it goes back to 65.
Yeah, so
It's a bit slower.
Yeah,
It's too slow.
It was 70 for a while, and then they lowered it to 65 because it was 55, and then it was 70, and then they lowered it to 65, and then 60 through Johnson City. But if you go through Johnson City, the speed limit is on the interstate is 60 miles per hour. I can understand you got a lot of ins and outs, but the people will get up there, and every exit you got people trying to every on-ramp, you got people trying to merge in the interstate doing 30-40 miles an hour. It's like you had a huge on-ramp. You're driving a new car. I know that car will get up to 60 miles an hour by the time you get to the top of that on-ramp, so you can merge without, having to run off the damn side of the road or merge in and run somebody else over into somebody else. And we see it every day. That's
And like 26, I'm not sure, it might be a little different now, but it's like one of the top 5 like deadliest interstates in America.
I'm not surprised.
Outside of like 1 and 2 down in Florida, it's
I'm not
like
surprised. People are idiots on it. I don't understand. Like, and the 2 main causes for accident that I've seen, I don't know. I've not done any.
single car too. There's a lot of single car wrecks on that road.
Yeah,
It's just like
that's true.
you look and there's like a car flipped, and you're like, there's nothing else on the highway. You're like,
Yeah.
how did you flip in a straight line?
Well, I went through it.
Overcorrect when they go off the shoulder.
Yeah,
That whip
yeah,
in. I've known 2 people that have done that. They
Play
go
on
off
the
the edge
phone.
and they think, oh shit, I'm on the shoulder, and they pull up real quick and it just rolls it. There's a girl I knew rolled her Jeep doing that, and I know a guy
Jeep.
that
Yeah.
yeah, both the cars I knew did it were top heavy.
I bet they're on the phone. Some of them, not necessarily people you know. But,
Oh, I don't know.
but I bet you
that's
there's
how
a lot of
flip
those
your
single car
Probably.
accidents where people on the phone. I see people doing it all the time. I'll drive by and somebody I'll be looking over and they'll just be not even paying attention and just looking on the phone. I'm guilty of using the phone when I drive sometimes, but I have I have my swipe patterns down so I can do these without looking at my phone.
I don't text and drive. I just straight don't.
Yeah. And I only do it in a safe situation too. I wouldn't do it in traffic or in on the interstate if I was going 75 miles an hour.
I got a new phenomenon y'all need to look out for while I'm thinking about it. It only applies to the locals. Some new people to the area think that for some reason back road means not very busy. Count them, 4 times of the last 2 months, somebody has tried to just park on the side of Bob Little.
What?
I swear, dude. It to
That's
the
a
point where
busy
I'm just
road.
like, what are you doing? Like within seconds, there's just semi trucks backing up, and people are like, "Oh God, I thought this was a hayseed little hillbilly." It's like it is. There's also a lot of people here too.
It's like,
Tried to park, just pull over a little bit on the side, because other places people do that. Like I know, but you just you don't do that in Appalachia. It's a back road. People are going to use it. You better get out of the
That's
way.
the fastest way between Johnson City and the other side of Elizabeth. And
It's just blowing my mind how often people are doing it now. I saw somebody do it once at the end of the stop sign at the end of my neighborhood, and I was like, haha, yeah, y'all are new. You didn't know any better. They keep doing it. I was like, so somebody's going to come around one of those corners and absolutely destroy, just come right up and hit. It's going to happen. So, anyway, there's my detour. There's your local and loud moment.
I thought you were gonna say, the thing. You're like, people driving back roads means slow. No.
Yeah, I saw that meme that was going around for a while that was kind of, really redneck, but it actually is a very true meme where it's like, ha, don't come here and drive these back roads. Think you can drive the back roads like we do. I think you're going to have some real serious accidents. Man, there's motorcycle wrecks everywhere over the last 2 weeks.
oh man, there has. There's been
All
a lot
over
of
and down the
car and
Dragon.
motorcycle wrecks.
Because it's just, it's a squirrely place to drive. There's a lot of people driving here right now.
And a lot of people want to try to show off up through there too.
So good luck to y'all locals that are on your motorcycles. Yeah, I've seen a lot of people driving not so responsibly. So keep your helmet on.
For sure. Yeah, there's been a lot of traffic through the area for stuff like car shows and biker rides and stuff like that. There was a rolling car show I saw the other day. I stopped and talked to some people. Like I was on the way up to Roan Mountain and just kept seeing classic car after classic car. Like almost every car we saw like 20 in a row that were like 68s. It's like 68 Chevelle, 68 Nova. 68
Probably should start
GTO.
shitting on
Yeah, dude. We were like, where the fuck are these things coming from? Like, what? But anyway, we got on up and we figured, well, there must be a car show that just laid out in Roan Mountain. Went out and worked up in Roan Mountain for a few hours and then came back down. And we kept running into these cars that were coming, and we were getting in behind some of them now, and we noticed they said like Power Tour 23, and they just kept coming and kept coming and kept coming. And we talked to a guy, and it was a young guy, and he was like in the early 80s. It was a built, lifted El Camino. And
That's
it was like Cyclone Orange from, it was cool. It was like Cyclone Orange for anybody's around here. It was like a, what would be the national equivalent of Cyclone Orange?
Halloween
orange. Yeah, there you go.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin orange. Yeah,
Yeah.
there you go. It was like pumpkin orange, and it's probably
Well, UT's pretty close.
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Elizabeth.
Yeah.
like a blaze almost.
yeah, it's probably
Johnny?
more of a blaze or a pumpkin. So it was But this dude, he was a young guy. He was driving it, and he said they were traveling. It was a traveling car show, and they started in Georgia, and they went all the way up through North Carolina, and basically did like a loop, like a circle, like a reverse C, and then ended it at Bristol Motor Speedway. So we were catching over from their loop over in, I think they said Charlotte, and they were coming over the mountain through Asheville and over that mountain in Sam's Gap on 26 and coming down into, or not 26, but the not Sam's Gap, but the old way over Roan Mountain. What the heck was that? What's that road called? How is that? 321?
321's getting
Yeah.
plugged up with
Yeah.
semis right now because they figured it out.
Yeah.
Stay off 321, you road hogs. It's annoying. Because they can't go above like 35 down that little road. The speed limit's 50. It absolutely kills your ETA if you hit any semis on 321.
Or 421.
Yeah.
If you want to go.
Did you know?
Is that the one that goes around the lake? 421? Yeah.
That the Brave Little Toaster
No,
was
that's
basically Toy Story.
421's. 421's the ones that goes up through Shady Valley up on the.
Oh yeah, okay.
They intersect in certain points too.
I thought
So
321 goes to the lake.
so what's the one that goes? What's the one that goes from Hampton up to Roan Mountain, then and goes on into North Carolina that way?
I don't know.
Is that the same road that goes straight all the way to
I
I
drove
have to know
321
that.
today.
Bluntwell too?
Brave Little Toaster is Toy Story. By the way, that's a brain fart that's in my head that I've been holding on to for about.
19E. It's 19E,
Okay.
but is it 19E all the way over?
I'm having so much of a.
I don't know if it is all the way.
Probably. 19E probably runs all the way.
I just can't remember. I'm having a brain fart, but I'm pretty sure it runs all the way over. Yeah, it runs all the way up.
There's Tiger Valley, so it's
Yeah,
it's not
to Roan Mountain. Yeah, it is
It
19E.
says 19A Highway 67W.
But then we go to 194 to go to North
It
Carolina.
does continue.
Yeah, but it doesn't look. Does it go to North Carolina? Yeah, it does. 19E goes to Spruce
Burnsville.
Pine. Okay. So yeah, but at 194, that's the way people used to take to the lake or to the beach, isn't it? 321. Okay, it's North Carolina 321. Yeah. Okay, that's what it is. That's why I'm confused. So North Carolina 321.
Do you remember the Brave Little Toaster?
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember the Scary Clown?
God, it's been.
That's my whole point. Like I know that's a I'd forgotten about this movie, and that's my whole. That's the only to the whole thing. Other than it's basically Toy Story's a remake of this movie. But I'd forgotten about that. I started watching the Brave Little Toaster for some reason, and I was like, this movie's scary for some reason. So I was like, I wonder if other people think that. Of course, clicked in there, found videos, ended up getting to skip to the premise and not having to watch the whole movie, even though I ended up watching it anyway. There's a scary clown in there for no reason. And now I've always had this thought of, when did clowns go scary? I think it's the Brave Little Toaster, because this is pre-It.
Nah, Brave Little Toaster wasn't pretty. It was it?
Yeah, it's like 1984 or 86 or something like that. It wasn't made until about 91 or something.
King wrote the book in.
Yeah, but we didn't read
he
it as
released. He released the book in '85.
Yeah, but the book he was only a
And
clown about.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space was before that.
Yeah, but kids weren't watching that.
No, but
I'm telling you, you look up the Brave Little Toaster,
But-
it looks just like the clown from the top of the Twisted Metal van.
Yeah,
I don't know where they got the
it does.
imagery from.
No.
It's like, what did you put this in this kid's movie for? So now I'm thinking the Brave Little Toaster is the sole reason every kid that's a millennial up to a millennial is afraid of clowns.
I don't know
That's
that
my
they
theory.
are. I think a lot of people. It was trendy. Like it was trendy to like bacon.
In 84?
No, just listen. It was trendy to like bacon for a while. You remember that? When Epic Mealtime and
Yeah.
and lots of other things were out there. Was like it was a trend. Like you would say you liked bacon if you wanted people to be like, oh, ha ha ha, this guy's one of us. That was the thing. Like let's all talk about how much we like bacon. All the restaurants were putting bacon on everything. This was probably 2010 when Epic Mealtime was really big. If you go on to I think it's trendy. Different things become trendy that are like weird little things like that people all start doing because they think it's cool. And I think being afraid of clowns is one of those things that is like a cultural phenomenon that people think it makes them interesting if they're afraid of clowns. Now, I think some people genuinely are afraid of clowns, but I think other people think it makes them more interesting. So that's what they say.
That was never marketed, though. The fear of clowns, like bacon, was a marketing campaign created by some clever people on YouTube, whereas the fear of clowns isn't. I don't think it is, because, like, it was almost like Marilyn Manson's pulled out rib joke. Like, it was pre-internet. Nobody even knows where that rumor came from, but some reason we all were walking around thinking that Marilyn Manson, for some reason, when I was around 8 years old, even younger than that, I even had like a clown thing on my light switch up and down from being a kid. So like clowns weren't really scary. Bozo was on TV on some of the black and white channels. But I remember all of the kids, every now and then when we made a supervillain, it was usually a clown, because I think it was just like all of us culturally all at once decided to make the opposite of what was supposed to be happy. And at that point in time, it had just been clowns. But I know a guy that actually is legitimately scared of clowns, and you could really do some damage to his poor psyche with it.
Good night, Stephen Lee.
Whether or not people are trendily afraid of clowns or not, I just don't know where that one came from. I just choose to believe it's Brave Little Toaster.
It might have something to do with it. Let's see when Killer Clowns from Outer Space was made. 1988. So it was after that. Let's see when it was written. I think 85 was when it was released. I think he wrote it over, like, started writing in 83.
Damn clown on Brave Little Toaster pops up, blows a cigar puff in the toaster's face, and goes, "Run!" Oh my God. It's rated G.
It was released in 1986. Let's see when the Brave Little Toaster was released.
I could be wrong about this, but you're helping my case quite a bit here.
Toadster. The Brave Little Toadster. 1998. Bro, that's Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars. Hang on.
It's like,
It's like, wow,
The Brave Little Toaster, 1987.
87.
So it was out after the novel of it was released, but it was before the Killer Clowns from Outer
Where's the
Space,
80?
and it was also out
Down here,
before
it's
the
books.
film.
There's books released.
Oh,
in 80
1980
days.
novella by Thomas M. Dish. I wonder when the earliest scary clown is. Let's see. First, got
My
me
contention
interested
to
now.
the It one, even though it's just I have to debate like it's debate class, is It, like the character It was not a clown the whole time in the
No,
book. Like he was
no.
a clown probably.
And that's why I think a lot of people think it was trendy to be afraid of, because you remember when you were a kid,
actually, if it was a she, whenever it was in its
spider.
whenever it was in its eldritch form, basically.
What is Garibaldi up here? What is that?
Well, hang on just a second. Let's continue this thought, and then we'll hit Garibaldi. But if you remember when you were a kid, there were kids who liked to talk about things that they thought were extreme, that they hadn't actually done, and they liked to brag about them. One of those things was watching a scary movie. And then there were kids who actually watched scary movies who liked to brag about them. So I think it became, it was a kind of an underground thing to watch scary movies when you were a kid. I don't know if you...
Evil Dead 2 looks awful on a 4K TV. By the way.
But,
That's sad.
You need to really drop it down to about
Well, I guess
nothing.
it was like
It looks like a school play. But I mean, like that, because back then in the '80s, like they relied on the degradation of the film to kind of kill
that
some
was
of the
like
practical
Pumpkinhead.
effects.
Yeah.
That was Pumpkinhead. A lot of it. You watch it and
So it's not like they.
and it was just like I can see the ropes.
Yeah. Well, it's like the grandma when she flies out and she's flying around the room. It's like you can see every last ounce of that fat suit, and where the chin separates. All of them. You can
Well,
see
Evil Dead 2 was
everything.
kind of it. It didn't take itself as serious because it was.
Yeah, I get it, which is why it's so good. But at the same time, even like with a 4K TV the size of that wall over there, that movie just does not look.
wait a minute. I think I just...
Thing still looks good, and Alien still looks
Yes,
good.
it does. The Thing, I've watched the Thing like 5 times in the last month.
It's just the whole TV thing, like
Yeah.
like I said, the degradation of the film. They relied on a lot of that to cover up some of it.
I do admit one of my other favorite films, Jurassic Park, the CG in it does not look good in 4K because it wasn't,
I haven't either.
the top resolution that those computers could have done when they were pushing it was, I don't even know if it hit 1080. It may have just been up to like a 720 for like that. So whenever you upscale it to that high of
that's
a
fine.
def,
Probably
that it
1080
doesn't-
interlaced.
yeah,
Probably
that
what it
it
was.
can't.
The first couple of Harry Potters do that. I noticed they were playing on, and you could actually see, like where they graphics had gotten, the TV was showing stuffy shit, like where they were doing the spells and stuff. You could almost see. I don't know. You just have to watch it. Like it didn't translate as well over it. I think that's funny that movies are going to have to be remastered because they'll remaster the Harry Potters.
I got to attempt to, not even with Grimaldi, but I got to attempt to shoot a hole in your theory here, because you remember the story, The Cask of Amontillado, Edgar Allan Poe story.
Amontillado? It's
There-
wine, right?
Yeah, there was a clown named Fortunato.
Okay.
And his imagery was used. He was not really creepy. He was the victim of being, entombed in the basement. But the imagery of Fortunato being the creepy clown, I think that creeped a lot of people out about clowns back even, in Poe's day. Let's see. Let's see, Steph. Or I think. Well, I think what I'm saying is I think that shows that people are kind of a little creeped out by clowns. Anyway.
Well, good. I'm gonna
because
choose
you never know.
to believe your theory because right now we worship stand-up comedians, and I don't think they're any different than court gestures. And I think y'all need to quit doing that.
It's
I
pretty
don't
much
give
what
a
they
care
are.
if
Yeah.
it's shit about Mark Maron, if it's a Bill Burr, or Joe Rogan. Y'all need to quit pedestalizing people that laugh at everything because they obviously have PTSD.
Dalton says good night. He says, he's saying good night to Stephen Lee. Yeah, good night, guys. Appreciate y'all joining us. Dalton says his fear is heights, and it's gotten to the point where looking out a closed window on the second floor is scary. Haha, I can't help it.
What's that called? Is it acro? Is that right? Is
You
it
got-
acrophobia?
No, that's actually I don't know. Agoraphobia is being afraid of going
that's afraid of
outside.
That's it's afraid of public.
Yeah. I thought it was being afraid of being out of.
No, I love
out
the
of
woods and
an
outside and stuff. It's public places that
okay.
I'm not fond of. I think it's acrophobia, but I could be getting vertigo wrong.
He says, yeah, so you got to do G. Gordon Liddy's method there, Dalton, and go rappelling off the Grand Canyon or something. No, apparently.
Give him a heart attack instead in reverse. Kill the poor fella.
Don't listen to me, Dalton. I'm an idiot on the internet. Spill says, I'm not afraid of clowns unless he's coming at me with a knife. Now, you remember there was a phenomenon a few years ago of going out and pretending to be a murderous clown. And there was a couple of times, and this was pretty much when people stopped doing it, where these people would they went up to a bunch of black guys in Chicago playing basketball and, come at them with a butcher knife dressed as a clown. And at first the guys all ran off. Then they came back and started shooting at them. What did you expect? And,
What would happen around here if you tried that in the trailer park, man?
Well, people did
We
it.
tried it anywhere around here. It's like if I see a clown coming at me with a knife, he's getting.
Yeah, no shit. Anybody starts coming at me with a knife.
Domain and runs inside real quick.
Yeah, if you come at me with a knife and I tell you to stop and you don't stop, I'm not going to wait and see if you're going to cut me with it.
Mama said stand your ground.
And,
We have that law?
yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, that was a good remix then.
Yeah, you have no duty to retreat if you're being attacked in Tennessee. Dalton, let's see. Anna, here we go. Anna, good to have you with us. She says her folks took her to a circus when she was 4 in 1963, and we left because we hated the clowns so much. Yeah. There's something about it. You got your smile painted on, right? You can't trust somebody whose face is painted on because you know it's an act.
When was Pogo around?
So
John Wayne Gacy?
some kids get it, yeah.
When was
yeah.
that?
Yeah, there you go, John Wayne Gacy.
He was a clown. I know that's taking it to the new level of literally it.
I think that was
not just being a mental thing; it'd actually being the real villain in real life. But I'm not saying that the clown hasn't always secretly been creepy to us. I guess I'm going to change my case to just simply be, I didn't know there was a scary clown in the Brave Little Toaster, and it's weird that we all forgot about that. Maybe that's just repressed memories because it all terrified us.
When did he do the clown stuff? The 70s?
Well, he died in 94.
He was in prison for a while, wasn't he? When
What do you think, ladies? Are you attracted to John here too? Is he as hot as Ted?
Yeah, the women like Ted Bundy.
We're gonna let old John
started
Wayne
in
Gacy
72 and then murdered at least 30 after his divorce from his wife in 76. So through the 70s. Dressed up as a clown, lured young men back to the house.
If they made this movie, it'd have to be Jack Black that played him. Mostly because I think Jack Black is a murderer.
A murderer, you say? Seems like
Just
something
making
Jack
it
Black
up.
would do. When the Kite String Pops was a great album for any of those that haven't checked that out. Acid Bath had John Wayne Gacy's art. That was John Wayne Gacy's art on the front of it, wasn't it?
Was it?
Yeah, I think it was. Yeah, but it was a good album. So they were talking about Grimaldi here. This is who Tim asked about a minute ago. This is Grimaldi. He invented the creepy clown.
And also, creepy clown on the cover of stuff was I just forgot what album it was. Come on, brain.
Is it a creepy clown?
It has a creepy clown on the. It was the Mr. Bungle album from like the mid-90s.
I would never guess that, but I know exactly what you're talking about.
Well, let's look at this real quick because it's 20 after 11. We kind of went off on a tangent there for a little bit, but let's get back into the main theme that we're getting into. What is a smart city? We got off from smart cities to Mr. Bungle. That's how we do it here at the Iron Mountain Hour. Be sure to like and share and subscribe, folks. So we get into in this article here where they're giving. Where they're telling all the good stuff about smart schools and smart cities and smart neighborhoods, and how they're going to all benefit all Chattanoogan's. And they say we're not truly smart unless everybody benefits from it. So, in underserved communities, they say, of course, involved in digital equity work in Chattanooga and runs Chatta Matters, who owns this website, who's writing this glowing review of the smart city. So basically they're going to use this for, more of this equity and climate stuff. Avoiding traffic accidents, they say, well, that's a good thing, right? We can all agree with that. Control the red lights and green lights. So the traffic flows more smoothly. I don't think anybody would have a problem with that. Data privacy, they say, though. This is one of the things I find interesting. Because he says, tracking pedestrian data can sound invasive, right? But his office never uses live feed cameras to track individual movement or movement like license plate. The resolution isn't clear enough to see plates or faces anyway. So this WEF smart city that we have down in Chattanooga, where they have the whole city outfitted with sensors and cameras and Wi-Fi, where anytime you hook up to it, ostensibly they're downloading and keeping a record of everything that's on your phone. If you connect to their Wi-Fi, if you walk through, they've got, even if they don't, they're like, oh, we can't see your face, but they've got your digital signature that was with your phone. They've got other things, other ways of identifying you.
They can't see your face. They can still match your gait.
Yep, they can match your gait. They've got, all they have to do is run software on it. It doesn't matter what kind of quality the film is. They can have a low resolution film from the 1980s. I bet if you give them Bigfoot, that Bigfoot video from the 60s, the famous one where everybody says has such a weird gait, I bet you if they had that camera and the gait of the person who wore the costume, they could put the two together if that was a costume. Yeah, I don't know.
Bigfoot's an interdimensional animal.
Yeah, so I'm just saying if even that old 60s footage, they could take that and match that gait to somebody. That's how individual your gait is. It's like a fingerprint or nipple. They're all different.
Most nipples are different. I have 2 identical left nipples.
But one of the things I think that's funny is they said, that it's not even high enough resolution to identify a license plate. They have what disease?
Only one.
They're both pointed that way, so one should point that way naturally, but the other is diseased. Your nipples are diseased.
No, it's a stupid joke. Keep going. It's not even funny enough to say. It's just
well, they say the sensors don't actually store any footage. Instead, all imagery is stored as anonymized data. So, they said in one instance last year, the Chattanooga Police Department approached UTC to ask for footage of one area that they monitored to help solve a crime, but the staff at UTC told the police that they couldn't provide the footage even if they wanted to because it no longer existed. So this WEF installed, okay, everybody knows about the World Economic Forum by now, right? I mean, it's become a talking point among conservative radio, conservative news, pretty much anybody who's anybody on the right is now talking about the World Economic Forum and diversity, equity, inclusion investment, and how all our money is being run through. When you invest money, it's going to places like BlackRock, and they're put it into these funds that only loan money to people who show that they are promoting diversity, equity, inclusion, which is like climate change programs. Doing racist trainings where you tell all the white people at work that they're racist, and so if you're not doing, or that if you have different views about people of who are transsexual or whatever, that you should be removed from polite society and all this stuff. Like, as long as you follow all those things, and they change the rules all the time. That's kind of one of the things about it, is it's arbitrary. So anyway, they decide, all these firms decide what money is going to be invested, and they decide which companies are going to succeed in a lot of cases, and they own many of the, we did an episode way back where we looked into who owns the news corporations and who owns Nexstar and who owns Sinclair, and who owns these. Actually, Sinclair was mostly owned by Sinclair, but Nexstar was like 9% by Vanguard, 9% by the BlackRock. You go into all the different ones, CNN, USA Today, and you see 10% of their share, 5% of their share, Vanguard, BlackRock. They're a lot of times they're the biggest controlling interests in, or the largest stockholders of any of these companies.
Also, they have the boat that's in the middle of the island on Lost.
Is that BlackRock?
The BlackRock.
Oh, I've never watched it. I remember seeing Lost back when it was on.
If you've seen Gilligan, it's basically the same.
Okay, I saw it back in like 2003 or 4, whenever it was it came out.
It's an Illuminati program.
I barely remember it, but
Gilligan and Lost.
Yeah, you've mentioned about Gilligan.
Yeah, go watch it. You'll see.
Yeah.
It's easy fix, entertaining too.
Yeah, I like Gilligan. I like the skipper. I remember he was on an episode of Beverly Hillbillies one time, and he was coming.
I want a woman that squishes when you hug her.
Yeah. he was after Ellie Mae, but then when he found out she couldn't cook for him, and was a wild woman who ran out in the field with animals, he said, "Well,
No, he's after Andy's, or was it Barney's wife?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. That
He's
was.
like, he said, I
It was
want a
after
woman that
Thelma Lou.
squishes when you hang.
Yeah, he wanted Thelma Lou. I forgot, but he was on a Beverly Hillbillies too. But Jerry, you're right about that. Maybe he was after Ellie Mae. I don't remember.
Maybe it was.
Tell us in the chat if you remember. But the point I was getting about to is even this World Economic Forum funded Smart City over here and the World Economic Forum affiliated. At least they delete your data, but the police here in Elizabeth and they are collecting your data with these license plate reading software, and with no promise to delete any of it. And they're saying, oh, well, we can just collect all this stuff, and then if we have a crime, we can go back and check the data, and we'll be able to tell where this car was and that car was. But also, when we're doing that, we're helping, what was it, the focus group? No, what is that place? What is it called? I'm going to find it right now. But this company has a network all across the United States of these license plate reading software that are collecting data all the time. They're building a digital footprint of everywhere you go. 42 states, 2,000 cities. They've not got everywhere yet, but they're trying, and they've got them in Kingsport and they've got them in Elizabeth now. So let's see, license plate reading software or cameras. That's it. Camera Kingsport.
I think Smeagol is just as annoying as Jar Jar Binks, and I think we need to rethink things.
I honestly don't think Jar Jar Binks is that annoying, except a couple of times. But
I don't really like the character. But if we're gonna ruin that entire movie and say this movie is worthless specifically because of this one character, which is not true, I really think that's a good theory. I think we really have to go back and look at the entirety of the Lord of the Rings thing and say, hold on a second. Was Smeagol actually the most cringe character we ever put on TV?
Yeah.
And we all walked around quoting it. Maybe not. Maybe it was just a whole lot of fun. But either way, I do agree, because if you watch the animated series, Jar Jar does appear to be a Sith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And he's always around when something really screws up. And
Really, like,
Who would his assistant be? Because they're always traveling too.
always accidentally misses, saves the day and
well, and like
gets
Phantom
promoted.
Menace, really.
Well, there was that one episode where he kind of killed 12 Jedi younglings. Just murdered them, straight murdered them. Was like, oh, Misa accident. That was a crazy episode.
Oh, I didn't see that.
It's not real. No, but it's a good theory.
They in Kingsport it is the Flock Safety Group. That's what they call the company, Flock Safety. So we're all part of they're going to gas us. They're going to gas us, the geese in the flock, or the flock of sheep.
Flock stand for
The flock of sheep that they're monitoring.
I'll be a goose, but
that just tells you how they look at us. They're either thinking we're silly gooses or
go down hissing.
bad sheeps. That's right.
Pooping on things down.
Now that reminds me of the
Tim Goose poop me going as you kill me.
the Canada Goose Gadsden flag.
But what about like the bighorn sheep that can walk up like a 49, like 89 degrees? They can anything they can climb up it if it's got an angle to it.
You got this.
Yeah.
You got this one right here.
goats.
This is
Seen the ones
the.
climbing of the dam, licking the salt off the side of it. What they call ibex. That's the right name.
Oh yeah,
Those are wild.
the Canada
Tread on
goose.
me.
Don't.
Ne m'enchant pas c'est moi. That's great.
Ne mangez pas sur moi. But then we've also got, if we go back here, we got, this seems more akin to, this Canadian stereotype. Please leave me alone, eh?
I don't know if that's a good I like the French, but I don't know if that's a good enough because that literally means don't walk on me.
That's what don't tread on me means.
But like but it isn't like.
But don't,
It's like a
don't,
different, you know what I mean?
it's like, don't tread on me is like, I'm a snake, right?
Yeah, Americans use flowery language.
I'm a snake. I will not bite you, but if you tread on me, I will bite you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I'm not going to just strike out at you, but if you step on me, then I will bite you. And that's what don't tread on me means.
Yeah, I'm saying like the French version of it is lost.
Ne marchez pas sur moi.
Don't walk on me. It just doesn't. It sounds like you're like a sarcastic rug or
But
something.
the goose is very angry. So
Yeah, it is.
It does.
That means ne marchez pas sur moi.
Honking. It should just say "ne honk." That's what it should say.
Yes.
Pas honk. Pas
Isn't that
honk.
funny that I can't speak French hardly for shit, but I can actually read it good enough that when long time ago, like you go to like a European country, like there's a bunch of it, I can actually translate the French to English really.
I can read it and write it
I can read
fine,
it super
yeah.
quick, but I cannot speak a word of it
Yeah,
anymore.
you drop me in France, it'd probably take me a week or two to get.
I think I could go married straight pretty
to be
quick.
able to do it. But the fun thing about it is, though, if you learn to speak one of those Romance languages, like I
I can
had
read Spanish
yeah,
because of it.
yeah,
I'm sure
exactly.
you can too, then.
Yeah. Italian and Spanish, you can read those, and you could learn to speak either of them really quickly. Especially like, I do some work at some places where a lot of people speak Spanish, and the property managers and stuff are these Israeli guys, and they speak like five languages. These guys are like,
I like language. I think that would, if I could read, number one, if I wasn't so dyslexic and I hadn't chose the chaotic path of a musician, I think linguistics would have been my academia path, because I really find it fascinating that all the words and language structure are very similar, all the way down to Japanese and German, which hi and nai are so similar with their yes and no. It's like no is always
Like, where does that come from?
Yeah.
From all the way around the world, we
Yeah.
structure it so similarly.
And you get all the acrylic languages.
Yeah.
That just kind of.
Those are also. I mean, they kind of stem from the one Cyrillic, and still they kind of have the same yet. No, 9. It's all kind of. It's it is a what's the word? A negative. It's a negative. It's an an affirmative when you hear it. Hi. Yes.
But it's kind of fun that it's like if I hear someone speaking it, I can usually get pretty close to like what another language is, but I am not good at linguistics at all. I've never been able to really grasp it.
I think it's pattern recognition for me, because I've got that ADHD unnecessary shit where I think that's the only reason I'm halfway decent at doing language and words.
Well, here's the first creepy clown. This is Grimaldi.
It's probably boring, and you're probably just a normal person who gets bored of looking at stuff.
I'm ADHD.
Are you? You just missed out on that one perk then, which
Yeah, I don't have that at all.
mine's an overdrive. It's not a benefit. Don't wish for it.
Grimaldi
I think
was
that's where the dyslexia comes from. Like, I'll read, and like I'll realize I've read further than the sentence can keep up with in my head, and I'll do that with writing too. I'll start writing, and I'll look over. That's like, oh dear God, I'm writing like a caveman. Like I've like left words out completely, written the same word twice, just all kinds of nonsense.
I do that sometimes. I get and even typing, and I've typed like the sentence parts of it twice, and I'm like,
Yeah, I don't know. It's like your brain starts skipping or something.
But if you give me stuff that's incomplete data in a paragraph, I've read this thing. It was like there were words omitted and stuff, and I read it perfectly. And then at the end, they're like, "Oh, if you have this, go back through. You can actually extrapolate the data, and if you have dyslexia or something like that." And then you go through and read it. Everything is misspelled, and there's words missing. There's phrases gone, and it's just like my brain auto completed every bit of that perfectly.
That same thing. Have you seen I haven't used it. There's a thing, a typing pattern that I want to say maybe one of our Google phones or something had it. That
It emphasizes.
it emphasizes the beginning and end of it and just kind of leaves the rest of it vague. And then like the next two letters are slightly less dark than the first or something. I don't know, the way it really changed the way. I think I could actually read very slowly if I had an entire document that was done the way they had it.
I want
It's
to.
very
Let's wrap this up on smart cities here because I think Alvin has some good thoughts I want to get to before we get too far in. We're already an hour and a half in, so let's check out Nuga Voices here. Nuga Voices from Chattanooga. They talk about how they had a city council meeting where Hamilton County called in a Chattanoogan's where they had a planning meeting. They had one public meeting and they asked for input from Chattanoogan's, and there was 40 speakers, 21 of whom were from the state, city, county, and or public-private partnerships. And the actual number of citizens who represented on March 21st, 2023 was 21, and 2 were children who were not old enough to vote. And of those 17, 81% did not support the plan. So everybody who was from the government and the partnerships that were involved in the putting in of this green plan, who's going in the smart city of Chattanooga, their Chattanooga's Green Initiative, all those people were in favor of the plan. They spoke in favor of the plan. And then there were 18 Chattanoogans, or 17 Chattanoogans there, and 81% of them did not support the plan. They voiced opposition. So the people who actually showed up did not support it. But all the people from the state and the government who did. Of the only 4 or 19% were in favor of the climate plan. Only 4 or 19%. Only 4 people or 19% were in favor. So Nuga Voices contends more of 4 out of 5 citizens are not in favor of the proposal. Anyway, they go on to talk about how Mayor Tim Kelly endorsed a Green Chattanooga with his 2022 One Chattanooga strategic framework and wants to put it in a path to shared prosperity and common purpose with 7 goals and 4 key priorities. And those 4 priorities are build a universal pathway to early learning. So get your kids in control of the state even earlier. They're already at 4 years old with head start. And then, partner with basically to make a pipeline from, we want to get your kids in early age and basically control where they go, evaluate what they're good at, and then have the state decide what they're good at and then send them in that direction with early learning and get them away from people, from their parents. Go ahead and program them as soon as possible. Catalyze economic vitality in the black community. What's it say here? We're going to have constructive recidivism reduction. So stopping black folks from going back to prison, I guess is what that means. Ensure city purchasing procurement practices meet equity goals. Ooh, right. So you got to make sure we, hire enough, buy enough land from black people and white people when we're kicking people out of their houses to buy land for the city. We got to make sure that they're equally distributed in color. Advance arts and culture and creative economy across. Okay, let's see. And invest in historically underserved neighborhoods. So engage and involve the whole community in city planning investment. So basically, a whole planned economy is what they're doing. They're going to want to pick winners and losers. And I've always had a problem with that, man.
Well, that's fine because Chattanooga is just one big. I mean, this nicest way possible. It's a loser city.
Yeah.
That's not very nice. I don't mean that to be mean, but I think the entire city could use an upgrade.
Yeah. Well, they're getting lots of money to spend, and they're doing it and putting in this infrastructure to keep an eye on everything that's going on in the city and share that data. And also, they're getting a lot of investment from stuff like World Economic Forum because another thing they're going to do is they're going to be, where do we go? They say ensure affordable housing choices for all Chattanoogans. So preserve land for affordable housing and transitioning neighborhoods. So that's where they're going to do this stuff where they put a housing project right in next to you and or put in.
Joke's on you. The whole city's a housing project.
Yeah.
The streets are building more.
Yeah, and they're going to build them in the places that probably aren't. And remember they just started doing that in some places around here. People were like, we live. It wasn't housing projects, but it was like. Apartment buildings, and they were the people who were in the neighborhoods were like, yeah, we actually moved out here, so we don't want to be around apartments. We're out here in the neighborhood, and it wasn't that somebody had decided. It was that the city had decided that that was going to be a place that they were going to put apartments, not that like some private developer said, "Oh, this is a great place to put apartments," and the city had said it, and it made a big uproar and everything, and they ended up not doing it. But people tend to want to, when they move out to the country or out of the main part of the city, they tend to want to have a little privacy, and you don't want like apartments with 1,000 people coming and going all hours of the night past your house if you're paying to live in a nice neighborhood, and they're doing a lot of that. But anyway, they keep going on and on about building competitive economy for Chattanooga. It's all stuff that sounds really good. And this is all the stuff that they say basically it's based on, every Chattanoogan deserves their opportunity to succeed and thrive regardless of place, race, or identity. And they also go into the climate action plan. So, is this climate or is this helping, underserved Chattanoogans? Well, it's actually both, because it's all about regulating everything that everybody's doing. But it's controlling where the money flows in the city to where people are traveling, the resources that people have. They want to basically have the city government control a whole lot more than they do right now. And let's go back to...
So they want all of them to be equal under the boot of the government.
Yes. Yes.
I think I'm going to become... We're familiar with the Never-Ending Story, correct?
Yes.
There's the tiger character, Gamork, most relatable character on the whole movie. And he has a speech where he's like, basically in a nutshell, all you Earth kids have turned into losers, and you're not using the world of imagination and fantasy any world. And so, since y'all ain't doing it, the nothing is just eating all the fantasy. And Gamork is so pissed about it as a fantastical magic glitter kitten that he is turned evil. He's decided to help the nothing. I'm starting to watch these economic forum things. I'm starting to think maybe I should just join. That if they're going to win anyway, then maybe I should just join and be the one that makes the soil.
That's what they're programming you with. Let's go on to this. Ron Littlefield, the former mayor of Chattanooga, from Alvin here. He said has sold out to the World Economic Forum and international financiers to make Chattanooga a pioneer in the 15-minute city program. We've all talked about it. It's all restricting your movement. It's all about controlling everything you do. We don't have to get into that over and over again. We've got into it ad nauseum on this show.
You get 15 minutes away from your house, I'm going to be able to slap it.
The Tennessee, Alvin goes on, big picture, 2 states right in the middle are of everything worth having in the U.S. And you think about the Mississippi River here, you think about the Appalachian Mountains, and you think about all the resources in between those. And Alvin says Tennessee and Missouri both control major thoroughfares in all directions, whether highway, rail, riverine. They control public opinion in the respective regions. They're both essentially rural states with multiple concentrated population centers like Illinois or Georgia, which means the vote can be controlled. Well, in Tennessee, we were at least we were 60, almost 65% red in the last election, and so if they are controlling it, they're doing a pretty poor job. But I definitely see your point, and I think you make a good one, especially with places like Nashville and Chattanooga, Knoxville start to grow, and they start to outnumber the population in the rest of the state. He goes on and says Tennessee, being the more reliably conservative and Christian, is therefore where they will start chipping away at the 2 bastions of conservatism and Christianity, and Chattanooga is the perfect place in Tennessee. Although it has a strong conservative Christian base, Alvin says, as demonstrated by the people who showed up being in favor or being against the climate action program there in Chattanooga. Chattanooga is a very progressive town, funded in no small part by Volkswagen and their factory there. It's midway between Nashville and Atlanta, while convenient to Charlotte as well. And it was also on the path between Atlanta and Johnson City. So if they can get all important foothold in Tennessee, it's only a matter of time before the rest of the state falls like dominoes. And it will be here. Agenda 2030, 15-minute cities and the green agenda. And the beauty of forcing Tennessee to go green first is the green technologies fail, and they still have the TVA as their safety net. Yep. By the way, who owns the TVA? Like we said, kind of like the Fed. It's a little different than the Fed. The Fed's owned by a private banking interest overseas, probably the old nobility of Europe, whose names we've long forgotten, who probably own most of the controlling interest in that. But the TVA is actually owned by the federal government. But who owns the federal government? Is that that Act of 1873? Where supposedly the federal government became a corporation, was been in debt ever since then, and basically ceased to exist as a constitutional republic, and now exists as a corporation. And I can see a lot of evidence to support that, especially when you start looking at maritime law. But if you start to, it's one of those things. You start talking about maritime law and Universal Commerce Code, people will start calling you a conspiracy theorist.
Well, I'm ready to have this conversation. I can't wait for this.
That's how all international trade and stuff is done.
Arguing with the judge one day about the fringes on his flag.
Oh yeah. No, it's not that. See, you're under the law of the United States, so that's why you can't do that. But the United States and other entities outside the United States operate under. They all operate under the maritime law or the Uniform
Which is
Commerce
why they can
Code.
send as many submarine down as they want to and keep blowing up rich people, and there's nothing they can do about it because it's maritime law.
But because we're American, that's right. I mean, that actually
that's why they can't do anything to them. They're like, all those people are dead. There's nothing we can do about it.
That actually is
maritime
right.
law.
Maritime law and Uniform Commerce Code actually oversees all the different governments of the world. They all agree to cooperate under this framework. So if an agreement's made between two parties, then it's sought out just like it's spelled out in Uniform Commerce Code internationally. And that's why one of the things that they put the UN in is to kind of try to maybe gain control about that, I think. But when you do international business, that's how it's done. And I think there's a lot to the idea that the U.S. is just another corporation in the slew of corporations internationally that falls under this law. And yeah, it's allowed to govern itself, but at the same time, it falls under maritime law and agreements. And that's where we get all the birth certificates and all that stuff and social security numbers. And I'm not 100% sure on that, but it makes sense to me.
That's your birth certificate.
That's your birth certificate and social security number are all part of, the Uniform Commerce Code, and that you have a certain value.
Well, if they'll let me sell that piece of paper, I'll sell it.
Well, there were people who figured out how to do that, and they got arrested. About 2017, I saw several.
Why would you be arrested?
I saw several people because they got you defrauded in Social Security is what they did. They used they plugged their Social Security number into some bank or something, some international bank, and they were able to use their Social Security number to withdraw funds. And
if you can do that, why can't you just walk up and beep, 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 you can do that. Why is it illegal?
I don't know, but some people got arrested for it. But you should be able to withdraw your own money, considering how much you've probably paid in over the years, and how much you'll actually get out by the time that you retire. Because gosh, I've been paying in since I was 15, and I'm going to pay from the time I'm 15 till I'm 65, and then I'm 65, and I'm going to get Social Security for 20 years after I've been paying in for my whole life. Like, there's no way I'll get my return, and I only get it a little bit at a time. I can't be like, oh, I'd like my full Social Security benefit so I can go out and buy a boat, or whatever.
Just don't pay taxes. Don't make no money. They can't keep no money.
But let's finish up Alvin's thoughts here. I mean, that's what they want.
Poor man life, baby.
That's what they want. They want to give us a. Yes,
they want you to make as much money as possible and then give them a lot of it back.
Right now, yes, but you're still living in the 20th century. But the 21st century is going to be the time of. They basically make all the money automatically. There's not even anything left at the fourth industrial revolution. There's not anything left for human beings to do. But we can't kill you all, so we have to have the corporations of the world fund everybody through a universal basic income, because there's not going to be enough jobs for everybody, and we have to have some way for everybody to fund themselves. So, being as all these large corporations have, made all this money and improved the world this much, they'll be responsible basically for. This is my thinking.
Large Hardee's and Carl's Jr.
Yes, exactly. And Facebook, YouTube, they'll be paying people just like they're doing, like they're paying people for making videos. Like, think how many people are being paid for making videos. Thousands and thousands of people getting paid for making videos on millions, probably, if you go into all the different platforms. So you're starting to get a kind of a universal basic income.
Sustainable, though.
Well, it is once we move from an economy where there's no more production. That's real, and there are very, very few people that are needed for production or, retail. As we move more towards that, then you're going to have people who need stuff to do, and there's not going to be stuff to do for them. But they're still going to need money. They're still going to need an income. So at some point, they've been talking up this universal basic income for years. But I think it's actually going to be the corporations that are going to be the ones paying it out.
I just don't. One, I'm an apathist. I have to be. And number two, I'm an absurdist. And number three, I don't think human beings have what it takes as a group to get to Star Trek.
No,
like that's what. I know that's what the big eggheads at the top are thinking, that we expand society and then we get it technologically where we need it, and then we just slowly let all the people die off until we have like a smaller amount of people that's really sustainable, and then all of a sudden it's not going to happen.
No.
It's just not going to happen because we can't work together well enough to make it happen. I mean, it'll happen. We'll have Star Trek or whatever, but it's going to look more like the third Thor movie, where it's basically a gladiator universe, and if you're going to outer space, is to kill somebody else.
And doesn't it start off with Sweet Child of Mine?
I actually don't know.
Let's see here, Anna. We've missed quite a bit of chats here. Let's catch this up because it's about time to end the show. And we still got to talk about Interstate 26. Anna says, all those clowns were all sweaty and gross, not funny at all. Mom, get me out of here now. True story. And Dalton says the only clowns he's afraid of are the ones running the country. Yeah, and this city and this county and this state. No, I mean, we got some good lawmakers in Tennessee, but the executive branch appears to me to be a, what do you call it? Like a wolf in sheep's clothing. Kind of like, I don't know, if you just look at him, he almost
all
looks...
politicians.
But look,
any of them.
I don't either, but we do actually have some good local lawmakers, that are writing good policy, and not such that you can necessarily trust them, but they are writing good laws in Tennessee for a lot of parts. But let's look at Bill Lee here real quick.
Plant.
Let's get a good look at this face.
Plant. CA.
Look at that guy.
I don't know if it's true or not, but I'm choosing to believe it.
Look at that guy.
I'm looking at him all right. Looks like a Stockton Rush if I ever saw one. He does, doesn't he?
It looks like a skin suit. It looks like
Edgar suit?
Some kind of alien wearing a skin suit. Like, I promise I'm a real boy.
You know how you know he's not a real Tennessean? Wearing a Titans pin instead of a UT pin. Look at that. That's a dead giveaway.
Well, I mean, he pays UT, that the Titans probably pay him. They'd probably pay him off.
I'm gonna have to think maybe not. I think UT has a lot of more money behind it than the Titans.
Oh, I think they do, but
industry.
at the same time, I think he controls a lot of that money to UT.
I bet UT controls him.
You think so?
I don't think so, dude. I think UT's got some power. Dude, they have a nuclear reactor under it. Like,
you might be right.
Where they were building parts of the atomic bomb for World War II and stuff. That's a plugged-in place. Plus, Alex Jones says that's where they keep the aliens.
That's Oak Ridge.
Yeah, but they were doing the research at University of Tennessee, though.
Let's look at this. This is his photo on the...
Allegedly, there's a Lazarus machine under University of Tennessee, or a philosopher's stone to make gold.
Look at that.
Are we going to make fun of the man's wrinkles or what? Because I don't think I'm going to age so well if we're going to.
No, I'm not making fun of him.
Okay.
I'm saying, look at those eyes.
What about him?
You don't see anything?
There's a good catch slot. That's a very nicely done photo.
That's a good photo, yeah.
I don't know.
It is a good photo. I don't trust those eyes.
He looks like he smells like Old Spice.
I don't trust those eyes.
Old Spice and cheap cheese.
But that is a well done photo with a very good with a very good
cheese?
camera. That's for
I bet he doesn't eat cheese. I bet it gives him constipation. I bet he's lactose intolerant.
You cheese eating bastard.
Yeah.
All right, let's see. Well,
I bet he smells like celery stalks.
at the end, basically, we're saying that I'm
They're all
gonna
seedy.
finish up with Alvin's thoughts here because I think they're interesting. He says that he went on, like I said, he said if they can gain this all-important foothold in Tennessee, it's only a matter of time for the rest of the state falls like dominoes. And it will be here, Agenda 2030, 15-minute cities and the green agenda. And the beauty of forcing Tennessee to go green first is that green technologies fail. They still have the TVA and their safety net. And who goes TVA? We talked about that. You know, kind of like the Fed, Soros, Rothschilds, Rockefellers, destroy Texas with immigration, California with overregulation and unaffordability, Florida with HARP and induced hurricanes, and now they have a plan for defeating the single most frustrating conservative state in the U.S. This is their first volley at our Fort Sumter. I would disagree. I think that, well, I mean, yeah, I guess it is their first volley because they started this a long time ago. That was one of the things I wanted to get into, but we really didn't get a chance to go over it in depth. But in the story from Chatham Matters that's being funded by the same powers that are doing this, they went into the hell is that?
Chupacabra.
Is that a screech owl? Sounded weird. They're usually like,
I think I'll take over Alabama one day and make it my own country.
I saw a screech owl get a frog out of the road the other night. It just went down.
Very courteous of him. Probably afraid he's going to get hit.
Yeah, probably.
Timtopia. Or Timabama, maybe.
That reminds me of a King of the Hill, as so many things do, where there's a forest fire, and
Yeah, that is.
Peggy's like, "Oh look, nature! The forest fire brings up the best in nature. That eagle's carrying that rabbit away from the fire." But yeah, they. Now I forgot what I was even going to say about oh yeah, they've been working on this since like 2010. This is when they started putting the path in motion for this, and they say that in the article that this really goes back to the climate thing was the impetus of this, and it goes all the way back to 2010. So Chattanooga's been under attack since then, and it's only gone worse and worse. And then Alvin goes on, went on to describe kind of how and why that might be. But, we're going to talk just for a second about Interstate 26. I know it's kind of boring, but Interstate 26.
It ain't boring if you've ever driven on it.
Yeah, that's true. It's a diagonal interstate. You got your even numbers, your even number interstates travel east to west, and your odd number interstates travel north to south, but they're mostly like, 95, 85, 40. If you go, the decrease in numbers or, north, south, whatever. Anyway, 26 is like 26 east and west, they say, but it's really mostly north and south. It goes from Asheville and goes on through to Kingsport, and it ends in Kingsport. But it goes on. Did it go on east from Asheville? Crosses the French Broad River in Asheville, and then it what's it turn into? 240? Yeah, it runs into 240. But they built I-26, and this is what it looks like going. This is an older picture of it, but this is going.
Yeah, because there's never during the daylight hours. There's never that few cars on it anymore.
So this is going towards the mountains of North Carolina in Irwin, and if you remember, then when this was made, they probably hadn't built the way over the mountain, because there for the longest time, if you wanted to go to North Carolina through Irwin, you had to just follow the road all the way through, and then you went down a really winding road down through Nashville. Do you remember that when you were on the way to Asheville?
No, I had an idea. Sorry, this is off topic.
But anyway, I-26 takes you on down there, and you get to the beach in like 6 hours now instead of like 10 like it used to take you. Or, well, I don't remember if it was that long, but it took a long time.
We should start a campaign. What led to this, for context, is as you're coming home from North Carolina up in Hampton, it's like as you come past all those hiking trails and stuff, and you got that mountain right there. Here's Brown's marker over here and all that stuff. That's a really cool picture of the mountains. The only thing that ruins it is all the power lines all shoestringing across it, you know? It's like, well, you have to bury all those. And I was like, no, if we buried it, all those idiots from Aspen and places like that will be like, it's beautiful here, I want to move. So then, boom, it hit me suddenly. Locals need to start a trash Tennessee campaign. We just need to start throwing garbage everywhere, start leaving put your couch on your porch, throw some shoestrings over just start pop cans and Natty Light cans everywhere. Let's trash Tennessee and get rid of these tourists.
All right. Insert crying Native American.
No. We want to make it. We want any diversity here. Put a big redneck out for just a white as shit redneck out there, and he's out there going, I love litter. I love litter. Get it. I'll pay you to do it too.
This is from mountainx.com. This is the political history of I-26. This is from all the way back in 2003.
The skipper in overalls. Vision. Oh, God.
So this is basically North Carolina saying back in 2003 that we over here in Tennessee screwed North Carolina by getting them to foot the bill for a lot of this highway to connect Asheville to Johnson City, and that back all the way in the 60s, the folks in Johnson City here were trying to connect the two things, and then in the 80s they brought it back to life to connect Johnson City and Asheville by an interstate, and basically they said they were telling North Carolina that, hey, if you don't help us build this interstate, all these people, nobody's going to come to North Carolina, because as soon as they get over the mountain, they're going to be on a windy 2-lane road that, they'll get lost. There's, it's dangerous. So anyway, the Western North Carolina people who there were convinced that this was going to bring them a lot of tourism, so they put a lot of money into this and had the highway built. But then it even took in the early 2000s before they finally got it built over the mountains, right? But North Carolina had put all this money way back before then. But then to connect it, but then you remember that it stayed unconnected for a long time before they actually built it over the mountains. It was half built. About the time we were in high school, it was under construction, and probably 5 or 6 years later they finally built it. And you remember, I was trying to find pictures of it just now, but they had big old pictures, big old the parts of it that were just stretching up over the mountain, they were just totally undone, and you could see the interstate just stopping there.
I remember the old way to go to Asheville was just an old 2-lane road.
Yeah, and it could be scary in the snow, man.
They really carved the hell out of that mountain.
Oh yeah,
that big interstate.
Yeah, you had to go back and forth a lot. But basically, they go on to that Western North Carolina got this thing thrown up to try to basically protect their economies, because they didn't think they were going to have people come over. But then they put in I-26 and it just went right over top of them, so they all got fucked anyway, because most people were just passed on through, and it didn't bring kind of the economic development that they were promised, and it was never designed to, is what this paper goes on to say, that they were just doing it to Tennessee was just pushing it to get our city connected to the eastern seaboard, via an interstate highway.
Tennessee is like, this is back for the 1700s.
Yes. We didn't get the state of Franklin, but we got you now. So yeah, they went on to go into the little more the politics in it between 86 and 88. But that was really a lot of a kind of oversimplification of everything. But it's mountainx.com if you ever want to read about it and talk about how the governors made the agreement and how they actually Screech Owl, Lilith. Yep.
Why West Virginia properties are cheap? Why is that?
What does that mean that I saw a Screech Owl?
You're like, make Tennessee trash.
Oh well, I actually have been to West Virginia a few times in the last 2 years, and I think it's gorgeous up there. But if I can find a real nasty, trashy area of West Virginia, maybe I'll be the governor of West Virginia this time next year, and I'll just go up there and take over all the trailer parks.
Yep.
I've only played one place called Summersville, and to be fair, it's called Summersville, so I assume they have a lot of vacation spots. But it really is pretty up there. I think the that big highway between Asheville is really pretty, and then the highway between I don't know what it's in between. The highway as you're going into West Virginia is really gorgeous, but
I love
trash
like
Tennessee.
the way to Bluefield, West Virginia.
Tennessee needs to make up some space if that's the case. Maybe we need to compete with them West Virginians.
Dalton said he wasn't really scared of clowns, but he was never
Change the
comfortable.
animals to raccoons and possums.
The what? Oh,
Change the animal, trash cats.
okay.
Dalton said he was never really scared of clowns, but he's never comfortable with sitting on a fake Santa's lap. If you were a fat old creep, wouldn't that be a dream job? Yeah, I guess it would.
Yeah.
One time I was driving and there was an old guy dressed as Santa wandering around. A mom with a young boy walked by and the little boy ran the man saying Santa and hugged him. It's like, yeah, that could just be some weirdo in a Santa costume. Some fucking pervert that wants kids to run up and trust
It's
him.
almost like school DJs shouldn't be under 30. Man. It's not like I could name names or anything, but there was a couple of DJs around there that did all the high school dances that, I don't know, maybe shouldn't have. In hindsight.
Let's see. Dalton says Bill says she's attracted to men that protect women and children, not hurt them. Yeah, absolutely. Dalton says seeing the web that always bothered me because we teach kids about Santa being this great guy, but any pedophile can dress up as Santa and kids trust him. Dalton says being masculine is protecting those generally weaker than you, elderly, children, women, animals. Hurting those weaker than you is the opposite of being a man. Yeah, it's not really a. Judge Joe Brown goes into a good description of the innate characteristics of being masculine and feminine. Yeah, and
picking fights for no reason. That's masculine.
No, that's actually not. that's actually a man.
Forget about that turn signal. You're a man.
No, it's
you want.
Judge Joe Brown goes into. He says it's a man who has women are a totally different personality type by nature. On average, not everyone. There's exceptions, but
Zoomers are gonna get old brown.
But if you want to break it down to the basic thing, the man's job is to protect and the woman's job is to nurture, and they work together to form a family. This is what has worked throughout history. If you want to say it's sexist, that's fine. But at any rate, the judge goes on to say that actually this stuff that we call toxic masculinity is actually a lack of masculinity, because these young men who engage in toxic masculinity have lacked a father figure to guide them and show them how to direct their masculinity in a positive and constructive way. Most of them have been raised by females who wanted to, they didn't understand how to raise boys. They didn't understand what they were getting into.
Who's talking to mama here?
With
calling out all moms.
No, we're talking about people who engage in toxic masculinity, so-called toxic masculinity.
Well, the implication that toxic masculinity thing has to imply that there's an opposite, which would be toxic femininity. Well, they never talk about.
Yeah, and that's the thing is the that's what really it gets into is the. Where the male instinct is protection and the female instinct is nurturing.
I don't know. I've seen some women tear the eyeballs out of things to protect their kids.
This is true. This is true. But you're talking about for the male generally protects the female. Yes, female do protect. We're talking nature here. We're not talking every single case. But that's generally what you have is the males protect the female. The female nurtures, and they work together to have a symbiosis where we have a strong family structure that's pretty much existed throughout the history of humanity, and that's what's allowed humanity to succeed. But this includes, like I said, having the male teach a younger male how to channel his masculinity as something positive and constructive, rather than having a male with all this, because the male has strength, the young male has strength, the young male has drive, and he needs something to put this towards. Whereas if a female who is unfamiliar with the lessons that a young male needs to learn to be able to control himself, raises this young man and doesn't teach him these things. And we look at the way men fight. Men usually fight physically, and women tend to fight with words or with status or with social things, although there are exceptions. And so this young man learns to
fight with pocket sand,
grows up, and he learns to maybe fight his battles as a female would rather than like a male would, and never learns to control and his innate male tendencies to hit things and tear things up, and then when he lashes out, that's toxic masculinity.
I lash out with pocket sand, and then I add one on to it. I know that's the Del Gribble, aka the Akita Shim. Pocket sand. I have one other. I do a combo. I do the pocket sand, and just as the sand hits them in their eyes, I hit them with what I call the King David, and I throw a rock right at their fucking head. So there you go.
Dalton says it's sad sometimes.
I even say King David.
Gets him every time. One shot. It's a critical hit every time. Dalton says.
I'm saying King David.
Dalton says it's sad how sometimes young men beat up an old man who in his prime could whip all of him. Yeah.
Rocks have to be D20s, nothing but 20s around them.
They're looking at me like I'm an idiot because I missed with all of that. Sand hit the ground.
Bill says, I guess. Spill's talking about the what you call it, the smart city there, but the flavor of the week, wishy-washy ideas. And Anna says, Dalton, LO, my face is horrified in the Santa pictures. Folks gave up on Santa too. I forgot about that. Yeah, Santa Santa can be creepy. Silent Night, Deadly Night. You ever seen it? Spill says, I love the random thoughts that come out of Tim. Yeah, we wade our way through them each episode, don't we?
Just illness.
Dalton says he got in trouble in kindergarten for telling other kids that Santa wasn't real. He was never a believer. Anna says, my parents told me Santa wasn't real, and I told my kids I can't justify lying to kids. Yeah, I didn't tell mine for real long. They figured it out fairly early. My son really was like kind of no, he was it was before the internet, but was like it is now. But he was kind of creeped out. He's like, so there's a dude that comes in the house.
I never believed in Santa Claus.
And leaves us stuff, but we normally leave the doors locked, don't we? So why do we let this guy in? And why is it's like, but he loves Christmas and everything, but he never was really.
The church just didn't teach it to us, and since funny thing, if you don't teach people that there's a magic man leaving gifts, when all the other kids around them believe in a magic man that leaves gifts, you kind of put two and two together. Yeah. And this is at the same time that they're telling me that Jesus walks on water and does all kinds of stuff, which is fine that you can believe that. I'm just saying,
when they're
I'm being told the story of Jesus here, and I'm being told the story of Santa, I have to believe this full-heartedly because this depends on my survival within the system of the whole fold. But it wasn't nothing. I literally never believed in Santa because if you don't tell a kid that that's real, they just their mind never goes there. And I don't know. I kind of wish I had believed in Santa at some point because I think that's almost like a practice run for other things in life for you to choose to believe or not believe in.
Yeah. Yeah, but I do think it's a good point though that they teach us Jesus and Santa at the same time, and then they're like, oh well, just kidding about Jesus and Santa, but Jesus is real, I swear. And Anna says, spill the tea all over me, wise mom, talking about spill. My mom never told us about Santa, but told me not to root for the other kids. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, that's basically. I never tried to ruin it for the other kids. I had it figured out at a pretty young age too, and man, I didn't ruin it for my kids. But when they asked me about it and had it figured out, I wasn't gonna lie to them. And then well, it's it's something that we do. It's there was a real guy named Santa, Saint Nicholas, that we made the thing after, and
really there to keep you from being tiny terrorists.
Yeah, and in a way though, Santa is real because we carry on. We believe in the tradition of giving gifts and stuff at Christmas enough to carry it on even thousands of years after he was here. So yeah, it's kind of like the movies that you see where it's like, oh, Santa's real if you believe in him, and well, that's kind of true because you have to keep that story alive and you have to keep the tradition alive in order for that to persist. So that's kind of what I told my kids about it. But anyway, Dalton says it's such a strange thing, like almost a religious, where you have this magical man who flies through the sky making children happy, then one day you're like, oh yeah, that's not real, by the way. Yeah. And we had my mom had to give my kids a book called The Magical Rainbow Man. And, it was pretty much like it was pretty culty, like new age stuff, man. It was
character from
it was like a mixture of Lucifer and Santa Claus.
You see the
and an alien. Yeah.
Robin Williams character.
Yeah.
Rainbow Ram. Randolph.
Yep.
Is that what Rainbow Randolph is?
No, it wasn't nothing like that. He was like a gray alien with like rainbow colors, and he was like
creepier.
he was like a new age hippie. Yeah, he was, like I said, he was basically Lucifer mixed with Santa Claus.
Was it supposed to be creepy?
Oh, I don't think so. I think it was just supposed to be a non-gendered, nondescript, non-religious, non-faith for everybody.
Strangely, ironically creepier though.
Yeah, it was. It was pretty creepy. Let's see. Dalton says it's not a way to make your kids. It's like a way to make your kids not trust you or believe you from a young age. Yeah, I've heard a lot of kids that said that once they figured out Santa wasn't real, they let's see. Let me look up the magical rainbow man. It made them not trust their parents anymore.
Have you seen the meme that I forgot about, but I have to credit the meme, where it says, remember that scene from Demolition Man where it revealed the whole public was just androgynous people dressed like the Pope?
Here he is.
It's all those guys in muumuus standing around.
So he's like Jesus, Satan, Santa, and Buddha.
That's creepy as shit. That face looks like that face off that movie AI,
Yeah.
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Wasn't that Kubrick?
No, I don't think so.
Was Kubrick not involved in AI?
No, I think it's an Isaac
Magical
Asimov
Rainbow
story.
Man and the Journey of Love.
Yeah.
That sounds like a completely different thing.
That looks like some kind of homemade something or other.
It's something that the new age people that my mom was into at the time were into, I guess. But yeah, that guy. Anyway, let's finish up the chats here and get out because it's late or early, however you want to look at
He
it.
tried to, but he never finished it.
Let's see. Yeah, he says, guess what? Your parents are lying to you. There is no Santa, says Anna. And Dalton says it's like a temporary religious figure where you take away from them later on. It's just so weird. Anna says, yeah, that's how I take it, ruining trust with your own kids right off the bat. And Dalton says they should be good whether they're rewarded or not, though. It's just like being a good person, you'd think, said Spill. And yeah, it is rewarding being a good person. It's just we're taught to expect kind of quick rewards, like, oh, I did this task, so I should get a piece of candy. But being a good person doesn't work that way. Recidivism means repeat offenders in general and are in and out of jail indefinitely, says Dalton.
That's a good word, recidivism. I like it. I'm gonna say it a bunch tonight.
Anna says, just wanted you guys to know I listen almost every show, but I'm in bed and usually not with my phone. Okay, Anna. Well, you told me that before. I'm glad you're still with us. I just wondered because we hadn't heard from you in a while. So I'm glad to know you're still out there. Dalton says, under the radar, when you guys end the show and that when the fun starts, you break out the funnel and chug some Fireball and Natty Light.
Up the booty, boot juke.
Butt chugging.
Butt chug.
We say
cinnamon flavored drink.
we pay homage to the toxic tea poster, and then we put that toxic tea up our snooter.
Hey, y'all on your own time here, just look up the video, like University of Tennessee and butt chugging. It was really a tragic. It was really a tragic event where some young men got. One of them maybe even have died. But just to watch the people from the university talk about the dangers of butt chugging and say the words butt chugging all seriously while like somebody just died and like it's a somber moment and they're like, we're just here to warn you about the dangers of butt chugging or something. It was like a South Park episode.
It hits you quick is the moral of the story.
Yeah,
It passes the barrier quicker. Not that I've ever done it.
Dalton says Chupacabra is oh midnight Screech Owl, aka Lil Thumb. I hope that doesn't mean anything, me seeing the Screech Owl eat the frog. It might have been a mouse, but I think it was a frog, so that doesn't bode well if I'm a prophet. I hope I'm not a prophet. Dalton says
We
that's
don't make much money, so we ain't profit.
that's true. Dalton says that's why West Virginia properties are so cheap, as long-term projects sometimes don't turn out as planned. And Dalton says Spill, and Dalton says Tim is a black belt in the Dale Gribble martial arts. Oh, he's beyond black belt. He's got stripes on his black belt. Pocket salt is a good one too. Yeah, that'd work better than sand. You throw some salt in somebody's eyes, man. You want to talk about? I mean, sand's gritty, but shit, get salt.
It could be. It could be my new
I-26 goes to Charleston now. Yeah, it does, Dalton, Alvin. And
I can do it with a 9 volt.
Hey, thank everybody for joining us, Alvin. Thank you for your contribution to the show. Like I said, we talked about it a lot, but I used your email kind of as what I based the whole show on about as far as how we were looking at these things. So I appreciate you getting it to us. And Dalton, it was a fun one. Appreciate you joining us. And Spill, night. Anna, good night. Joe, if you're still out there, good night. Let's see, Alvin, good night. Appreciate you. Anybody else here?
Festus.
Have Stephen Lee Day. They're all gone, but hope y'all have a good one. Festus, Alexander the Great, take it easy.
Hamster Star 1.
Yeah, that's oh man, Hamster Star and
Shit Kicker United's in here. I didn't see you, Shit Kicker.
I think Hamster Star and Fuzzy Balls must be in here together. But
Fuzzy.
But we appreciate y'all joining us. Appreciate you joining the chat. And we will see you on Wednesday where Tim and I getting into the news and current events again. It's always a good time. Thanks for joining us. Like and share and subscribe and all that. God bless you too, Alvin. Have a good night. Later. See you, honey pie. Glad you were here.